Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to podcast episode number 6. Today we're going to talk about soloing. We got a prolific soloer here, Aldbar. Aldbar, do you want to just introduce yourself? Just say like who you are, maybe where you play, how long you've been playing DDO, stuff like that. Maybe tell people what you do on YouTube.
Yeah. So I'm Albar, or also known as Aldbar DDO. I've been playing. I started DDO in 2009. I had to check it. I had to go to the forums and see when I started logging in. So 2009, and I started the YouTube channel at the end of 2019. It's almost 5 years now. Yeah, I primarily end up doing solo because that's the thing that I enjoy the most, and making video guides of how to do solo and stuff like that. So this is like up my alley, so to speak. So yeah, that's basically the beginning introduction.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for y'all who don't know, I mean, if y'all that are watching on YouTube, the topic today is soloing in DDO. So, Albar, I know you've been. So, how long you been playing? Like 5 years, 10 years, something like that.
Well, it's going to be 15 soon, but
Oh,
I did take
15.
a break in the middle. So overall, since 2009. So I don't know. I had like a few year break in the middle, but yeah, that's when I started. Started in 2009 and off and on since then.
And you solo most of that, right? Like I know on because you play on Orion, and I'm over there. Occasionally, I played with you, but you mostly solo though, right? Just because of your
Well,
time.
usually I solo. I had a certain time where I had actually a few like partial like a static group. Well, I used to play D&D before I played DDO. So I had some of the guys from my D&D group joined DDO, and for a long time I played with some of them. One of them was holding on for pretty long, almost like a year ago. He was still playing until he eventually quit. But basically, yeah, not that much. I didn't. My schedule just doesn't work out with anybody. So trying to work out a schedule and force it to make it to play with somebody, it just never worked out. So basically, yeah, I primarily solo because of technicalities. Well, one of the reasons.
Yeah, so Albar, for anyone who doesn't know, he's not not a U.S. player, international player. So unfortunately for you guys, I know that it can be an issue because so much of the population of the game is in the U.S. So if your playtime doesn't jive with the U.S., it's rough. I know, or at least Europe. So
Yeah, yeah, much less people not from the US, so the chances of finding other people to sync up with time zones and stuff like that is much harder.
yeah, so I thought we would just go through. So I mean, and just talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of soloing. So you kind of talked about the big one, which is like time. And the other one is I know a lot of new players probably solo, and I think that's a good thing because you actually learn the game. I know when I play, I mostly play in groups, and sometimes there's quests that you can run in a group 20, 30, 40 times and never actually learn them. But if you solo, you can actually really you're forced to do everything in the quest. You're actually forced to think through it. It's just zerg through it with a public group. So
Yeah, I think that if you don't solo it, you don't know it. Basically, if you don't actually do it by yourself, there's a good chance that you can be forever doing the same quest and like you don't know it. Say, for example, Von 5, I was in it with a group and someone's like, we need a party leader. Anybody willing to be a leader? And nobody voted. Nobody wanted to be the leader. So we naturally turned to the one guy over there who had Reaper wings. I was like, I guess you're the leader now. So fine. And halfway through the quest, he got frustrated and said, I can't take this anymore. He left the quest because he wasn't sure what's supposed to do.
yeah,
So you've definitely been spending many hours in the game, but still just don't know how to do it because, well, can't solo on 5, or nobody has soloed on 5 yet. And basically, there's no chance for you doing it. So if you don't know how to do it, I mean, you're depending on other people. So that's, yeah. So that's what we're talking about. I definitely feel that particular advantage for soloing,
yeah, and
but it's
Von
not the only one.
Yeah, and Vaughn 5 is a raid, but there's a lot of regular quests that come to mind, like
Yeah, tons of
Inferno of the
quests.
Damned is one, or Madstone Crater. Like these quests that are, and Madstone Crater, I personally need to solo more to learn it better. But yeah, there's a lot of quests that really you just have to do them yourself. I think most people learn by doing rather than like someone can teach you a quest, but until you actually get in there and do it yourself, you're not going to learn it. So I always find that the players like yourself who primarily solo really are the ones who know the most about the game, at least for the the non-raid content. Raid's a different beast because you can solo some raids, and we'll get to that in a minute because I know you've soloed a lot of raids. So,
We got a
but
lot to talk about. We'll get there,
yeah,
but
we'll
yeah,
get there. We'll
still
get
have a lot
there.
of prep before that.
And yeah, jump in, Aldbar. If there's any topics you want to go through as
Yeah,
I
I
met,
was gonna say the second big advantage is not just the quest mechanics, but I mean just personality things. I mean, I'm an introvert if you don't know what that is. So basically, most people are extroverts. That means when they spend time with other people, they it gives them energy. Basically, you fuel up when you spend time with friends and family. Spending time with people you like makes you feel good, makes you feel better, and it gives you energy. That's normal. That's called extroverts. And introverts goes the opposite. They spend time with other people, even if it's friends and family. Basically, it drains them from their energy. So even if you're having a good time, you end up being exhausted. So spending time with people, I don't know. If I spend time with my family, I'm still like, okay, now I need to take a break and like I'm gonna go lock myself in a room because I need my time to be myself to get my energy back. So if I'm going to take my leisure time, play DDO, and spend it with a group of people, and then become exhausted, so it's a trade I'm willing to do. So I'll come to play raids on Thelanis just because of that, because I have a group of people who I know and it's fun, whatever. But if I come back from work and I'm already exhausted, I'm like, I don't have the energy that I need to step into the raid because that's it, I'm done. Not like as soon as I'll step in, I'll start getting energy from spending time with friends. It's like, nope, I'm already done. I'm finished. So I come back from work. I'm like, yeah, too much for me.
yeah,
So
I
that
understand
means
that.
that
Yeah,
I log into the game many times. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll join a group, and I look at the list, and there's lots of people playing, and I'm like, I just can't click on a list now and have to communicate with other human beings. I don't have the energy for it.
yeah,
It's weird, but it is what
I
it is.
totally understand. Sometimes you don't want to, you just aren't in the mood to socialize with people, and
No,
yeah,
I'm
it's
always not in the
relatable.
mood.
You're always in that mood. Yeah,
Sometimes I am, but that's the rare.
yeah. Well, I
It's
get
very
it.
hard because of that.
I get it. So I some of the other things I wrote down here is so I guess when you start soloing, I mean, what are some things that you have to take into consideration when you're soloing versus grouping? Because if you're soloing, I mean, it's all on you, right? You have to bring everything you need. You can't rely on anyone for buffs. You can't rely on anyone else for heal. Well, unless you use a hireling. But are there any specific like items or consumables that you find are like extra valuable for a soloer?
There's many things. Basically, just like you pointed out, when you solo, it's all on you. So there's tons of things that you take for granted when you run in a party. I mean, the things that come to mind easily is like when there's two switches that need to be pulled at the same time. So, well, you have somebody to do it for you. When you take one side, they take the other side, and it works. So there's mechanics that are specifically made for group play. And when you're a solo, suddenly you have to figure out how you're going to do this. How do you do Zorian Cipher, which is one player? Like, how are you supposed to stand on four different pressure plates and then push this and pull a lever? Like, how do you do that by yourself? And things like that basically make you think about the quest completely different. So a whole bunch of different mechanics and things you have to think about. But just on the basic level is you take for granted what happens when you mess up if you die in a quest and you don't have an intelligent human being come pick up your soul stone and save you. So now you have to like even the hireling that's going to come and you're going to try to bring him to save you, it's all still on you. So there's a whole bunch of other things that come into you have to take into consideration when trying to solo. It makes it you have to learn so many different new things about the game, change the whole thing up. It's very different.
Yeah, and certain items definitely increase in value. Like the Gibbers Blade is probably the biggest example. That's like if you're playing solo, you gotta get a Gibbers Blade. That'll if you die, you
Yeah,
can so often with that thing get back to a restaurant because it'll. For anyone who doesn't know, that's the trinket you get from the Jack Gibbers quest in Epic Through Roll Cove. I don't think it drops in heroic. I think it's just epic. You correct me if I'm wrong.
just epic.
Just epic. That's what I thought.
Epic, epic.
But it raises itself. It's a self raise item. It raises you as a wraith. You die a minute later, but your soul stone will drop on the place you die the second time. So you can often just run within range of a res shrine and be totally fine. So it is
Yeah,
so valuable. It's basically a not really, but it can kind of function as just an infinite cake, clicky, in a sense. Not as good, but kind of.
bit. Take for example, if you're running regular, like up to elite questing, if you die in the middle of the quest and you're out of the range of a shrine, you can always recall and re-enter. If you have somebody in the party to keep the party alive for you, even if they're dead, if they just stay in the party and they keep the instance open, you can leave, you can rebuff, you can get yourself set up and come back into the quest. But if you're soloing, if you leave and you take more than 5 minutes, the quest resets. And sometimes because of different quirks with things like hirelings and stuff, you can leave a quest, come back in, and it reset for you, and all of your progress is gone. So you might be, you know, slowly going through a really tough quest, and you've been 40 minutes into a quest, you fail, and you're like, okay, so I'll just recall and re-enter and have the quest reset on you. This the amount of time that gets lost because you solo, you don't have a party member, is also it's devastating sometimes. It's like there's certain quests who I hate just because of this, because there's like you can't recover the time. That's the thing that really hurts me the most. Probably the time sink that goes into certain quests. It's unbelievable. If you mess up or something goes wrong, there's no way to save it. You don't have some other human being to come and help you out.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one time I was desperate. I soloed the legendary, whatever it's called, Crucible. I was trying to do it by myself, and I got through everything, and I died in the end fight. And for once, I had to open up a party and beg for help that somebody was going to come in and help me, because the last thing I needed was the thing to reset. I was like already like 70 minutes, 80 minutes into this quest. By the time the people came in and helped me out, it was like 90 minutes completion. So I was like, that was an hour and a half on a quest. So I felt accomplished that I got it done. But if I would have gone through 80 minutes and then had to reset and lose all that progress, I'd have lost my mind from the thing. It's like, why
Yeah.
would I try this again? See, that's like one of the big downsides to soloing. It's one of the challenges you have to deal with. So everything is, let's put it like this: it's hardcore when it comes to the time you spent in a specific quest.
It
Like,
is. Yeah. Especially if,
you make a mistake and you can lose all
yeah.
your progress.
Especially if you're not really willing to use cakes, or you don't have a gibber's blade, or no other way to save yourself. Cakes is another thing that's, are much more valuable soloing than they are in a group. I can't remember the last time I used
Yeah,
a
I
cake
hoard them.
in
I
a
don't
group.
actually use them.
What is that?
I primarily just hoard cakes. I don't actually use them that many. I've got
Yeah.
a character who's probably got a gigantic stack of cakes. I've used like a cake wick once. I was almost at the end of whatever that thing's the what goes up.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the top of the boulder. I was almost before the end of the fight, and someplace over there I died, and I was just out of reach of the shrine. And again, it was probably more than an hour into it. And I was like, okay, fine. And I went and I used the revive button. So I spent the whatever
The
35 shards,
shards.
whatever the thing was,
Yeah.
because I was just like, I just can't have to.
And you
The
can.
thing is, what goes up is like a little bit too far of a run. You might have the thing reset on you, because if you recall to your ship or whatever it is, then you have to still run back to the quest, and you have to go all the way back to the storm horns, then get all the way up to the top of the mountain to the north, and you have to run all the way up to what goes up. If you don't make it back in time, the whole thing's gonna reset. I was like, nope,
Yeah.
up
What is
that.
it? A 5 minute timer? Something like that, where it
5 minute
resets.
5 minute timer, and there's
Okay.
other things that can reset it. So let's say if your
Excuse
party
me.
status changes from, let's say you've got 4 people in your party and one person drops, so kind of it breaks the party status, and it could make the quest reset. You can do this on purpose sometimes, but if this happens, it will reset the instance. So you have to be aware of that. If everybody leaves the instance and like somebody leaves the group, they'll probably
Mm-hmm.
reset the party for you.
Yeah.
So
And
whatever
then
that
now
things you can
Reaper mode. If you solo on Reaper, can you re-enter Reaper? I can't remember actually. I think they did. They
Oh, you
change
can't,
that?
and that's one of
Did they?
my,
You still can't, right?
as far as I know, you
Yeah.
can't,
I
and
thought
that's
they'd
one of
maybe
my
changed
major
that, but
dislike.
yeah.
Could be did it. I haven't tried it again.
Oh,
It's one of
gotcha.
my major gripes with Reaper, because again, just blocks one other way that my time can get wasted. Because if I mess up for some reason, or something happens, I don't know, maybe it's not my fault, maybe it just lags out and I die. I'm willing to, like, okay, fine. So I died, so I'll have to re-enter. But if you don't let me re-enter, it's like that's it. So all my time is gone. And again, one of those things I just can't stand.
Right. So I guess like other things, I was going through a list of things.
Items.
Yeah,
I
items
didn't
people
talk
should
about
bring.
hirelings.
Yeah, we can get it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got a hot
hirelings.
take
That
about
was.
hirelings.
Yeah,
People
go
think
ahead.
of hirelings as some kind of artificial intelligence. It's not. Hirelings are just a buff.
Fair. Yeah,
That's what it is. It's a buff. Well, it walks, but yeah, it's basically a buff. This buff can take you to a shrine and can pick up your soul stone and can pull levers. There's a few nice tricks it can do. Some of these can even heal you or res you or whatever it is. But as long as you think of it like that, you bring a hireling in and you leave him at the beginning of your quest, and if you die, you call him to you and tell him to res you. Free cake. I mean, but basically, it's a interesting buff that's got like a whole bunch of options on it. As soon as you stop thinking of it as some kind of like artificial intelligence party member friend who can help you out, everything is way better. So as soon as you stop like depending on it, That was one of the things when I was a new player. I used to depend on hirelings all the time. But like my whole survival strategy was have a hireling and make sure he doesn't die and make sure he keeps you up. I was like, nope, that's not how you're supposed to be using it, because eventually hirelings become useless if you try to like use them as the actual healer or a human being. It's like, no, you have hirelings who can do traps. That's the buff. Some of them, some of them that's like their specialty. They can do that. Great, finished. Some can riz or heal every once in a while.
Yeah, and that's the one, like one of the biggest tips I don't see a lot of players doing. That if you're soloing, even if you don't need the hireling, if you're doing any kind of difficulty that there's a chance you're going to die, you should bring a hireling and just park it at the beginning. It's worth doing because if something happens and you die, it'll save you from restarting the quest. You can just run away from your soul stone, recall the hireling to your position, and have it raise you. It's easy.
Yeah,
Hirelings are cheap. Yeah, just it's a free cake.
it's
Yeah,
so cheap. Yeah,
yeah,
that also. I mean, oh, I always like to point out there's a level 11 hireling fighter, Mark Hill the Pious, something like that, who's a D-Door buff.
hmm
You summon him and he can cast D-Door. You want to do whatever that is, invitation to dinner, and get it out of that first fight. Everybody casts D-Door, but you're doing it yourself. You don't have D-Door. Well, you got
yeah,
a hireling. Bring him in, tell him to cast D-Door, and that's it. You're doing, I don't know, challenges, and you want to have D-Door for you want to have the kobolds run back to the start. You can bring him, cast D-Door. It's great. I mean, people underestimate how powerful these things are. But again, as long as you think of it as a buff, you'll enjoy it. It's great.
yeah. And Troggy in chat just brought up an excellent point. So a lot of times going through the game, there are doors to shrine rooms, and all it's in that room is a shrine. It's a good idea to just open the doors as you run through, because if you die, you can run to the shrine. If you don't open the doors and you die,
Yeah.
you're screwed
Open doors
because you
to
cannot
shrines,
open
clear out rooms
doors when you're
before
dead.
shrines. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't open doors when you're dead.
exactly.
So that's a really good point, Troggy. And there's a lot of
Yeah, well
situations
said.
where that happens, where that's the case in game.
The more it happens to you and your time goes to waste, the more you start taking this serious and start to doing it. You always pass by a shrine, and if there's mobs in the room, well, there's not that many of those in the DDO, but if there is, you clear them out and make sure the door stays open if possible. Sometimes the door's closed by itself, but whatever. Yeah, prepping your exit. So this is prepping your exit by making sure you've got a hireling. So
Yeah,
nothing will
and they're not going to
save your
save
time.
you all the time. There are some situations with like tough in fights and closed rooms where maybe if you recall your hireling there, it's going to die before it can raise you. But for the
Yeah, I'll
most
die like
part,
one hit.
yeah. But in most situations, it can save you. So and hirelings are cheap. For anyone watching doesn't know, hirelings, they just cost platinum in game. You can get them. They sell ones in the store, but they just cost platinum. You can buy them. There's tons of places in game. You get them for any level range you happen to be at. So usually go for the cleric. There's some ones that are better than others, and then there's some specific ones like Albar pointed out, Mikhail the Pious, who casts D-Door, but pretty much any cleric, they're not going to be great, but they'll raise you. They can raise you. They can heal you if you're out of spell points or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
use hirelings if you
There's
solo.
a few little like minor tips that you should know about like hirelings. A bit like, I mean, we could probably make a whole episode just about talking about hirelings, like which ones are the best and whatever it is.
Hey, sounds
How to
good to
buff the
me.
hirelings, give all the things, making if you have all the different like augmented summoning, and you can have an augmented summoning item, and when you summon your hireling, and it'll give him the buff, and then you can just take the item off. So for many years, I was using the Epic Roderick's wand because it's got like the augmented summoning on it. I'll switch to it, and then summon my hireling, and then put it away. So he gets the buff. So it's like there's no reason why you shouldn't get that extra +4 to all stats on your hireling. So it's free. It's very easy to get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, but we're gonna talk about hirelings forever if we keep on going. So,
yeah. I was gonna say we go into
yeah.
more, and I know there's also what is there a I'm trying to remember the set bonus. There's some set bonus out there that gives you bonuses to hirelings, and a lot of people will equip
Yeah,
that
you can get
and
it
then
from
summon and
the
then unequip it. It's
whatever it's called. It comes
isn't
from
it Hound?
Heroic gives you a +2, Epic gives you +4, and Legendary gives you +6 if you have this set bonus. You can just have two rings. You
Yeah, it's
don't.
a two piece
It's like it
set.
goes. It goes cloak plus ring, but it also just works if you just have two rings. So if you really want it, just upgrade two rings and just put them. You don't have to keep on changing off your cloak. Have the two rings, get the bonus, just swap them out if you really want it.
Yeah, I will. Now that I think about it, I will look that up and put it in a pinned comment below on YouTube when we're done. So okay, so that's hirelings, and yeah, like you said, we maybe we'll do a whole other episode of that on that if people want to. But I guess other things you want to bring. What other consumables? Like you want to make sure for sure you have all the potions you need. Like it's awful to be cursed
Yeah,
or blind, and you have no one in your party to cure that
curse
for you.
potions, curse potions, and disease potions in the order CD, because remove curse, remove disease, and how you get also rid of mummy
Mummy.
rot. So
Yeah.
yeah, so curse potions, disease potions, then lesser restoration potions you can get from the store. The regular restoration potions, every time they have the Maybar Festival or whatever it's called, the Night Revels, I go get gigantic stacks of it because definitely it's the best thing that you can get very cheap. So you want to have a stack of those if you're serious about getting rid of negative levels and things like that. You're gonna need those restoration potions.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
resto
so
clickies as well, like the Hammer of Life, for example. There's a lot of items you
that's a
can get.
raid item, and there's actually
True.
not that many easy to acquire restoration clickies. There is ways to get it, but again, if you want like easy to access, that doesn't require UMD, doesn't require raid farming, doesn't whatever it is, you just buy it using the motes of night, and you go get a gigantic. What's actually now it's not motes of night. Now it's the chocolates. I'm forgetting. Whatever
Right.
you.
He's talking about
Next time,
the
maybe
Night
next
Rebels.
time I keep on calling this all day. Next time Night Revels comes around, get yourself a stack of like 300 of them, and they'll last until next year. It's like you don't really need that many of them because
Hmm.
you're not going to be chugging them in every quest. Every once in a while, when your death ward runs out, when you weren't noticing it, and then you take like 3 negative levels, you're like, whoops, put your death ward back on, take 3 of these, and you'll be done.
But
And they'll
lesser,
just stay.
yeah, but lesser resto potions are available for platinum in game, and those are good
Yeah,
enough
lesser
just for
rester, those I use
standard
for stat damage, use them
stat
all the
damage.
time.
Yeah, like there's a mind flare or something. Just gets charisma damage. Just chug some lesser. You might have to chug 5 or 6 of them, but it'll
Yeah, that's the
work
problem with
unless you
it.
get helpless. And if you are helpless, you're just gonna
Yeah,
you'll have to just
you
sit
have
there.
to
Well,
wait
there are
around.
actually a couple things that will work while helpless, like the tier 5 Radiant Servant,
And
Radiance,
Cleric,
Clicky
yeah, but
will
that's
clear
one of the
your
like the only
helplessness.
ones.
Yeah, that's like one of the only. I don't know if there's any
I was
others.
using that when I was trying to solo whatever it's called, Hound of Zoriat, legendary elite Hound of Zoriat. And
Yes.
every time the mind flayers hit me with like it's called the ego whip or something like that, like minus 120 feet to charisma. I was like, how am I supposed to heal this? And the immunity, the ability gives you immunity to charisma damage wasn't working. I don't know if it's as intended or bugged or whatever. So I went to tier 5 cleric just to that to get rid of it all at once. So that's how I know that exists.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of nice
But
solo
the thing
stuff.
about the restoration potion, one second, the thing
Go
about
ahead.
restoration potions is the regular restoration, not lesser restoration, hit you for 100 stat. They cure for 100 stat damage. So if you're like fighting the Doom Sphere and whatever it is, the Brothers of Perdition or whatever it's called out in
Hmm.
Necro, and you keep on taking con damage, one of those potions will fill you completely back up. But if it's the lesser restoration potions, you keep on chugging them, and you'll be taking damage faster than you can heal yourself. So it is important to have those. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I actually was reading chat, and I actually don't remember what I said it was going to say earlier. But it's going on to other items. If I remember, I'll bring it back up. But GD in chat mentions Harper pens. Yeah, Harper pens are really nice, but to get you out of crowd control, but they're not going to cure like stat damage, for example.
Yeah, well, it won't cure anything. Everpen just
Yeah.
breaks you out of the crowd control, but it won't restore your stat damage as far as I can tell.
Gotcha.
Just by the way, the tier 5 that you get from Legendary Dreadnought, there's a rallying cry or whatever it is. That ability basically does almost the same thing as the Harper pin, but you can use it every half a minute. So
Yeah.
gets you
Also,
out of like almost all crowd controls. It's great.
also fighter Dragon Lord Second Wind cures CC, believe. I have to check that. It's either cure CC or can use while CC'd. It's one of those. I think it's
Ah
maybe
no,
it's
you can use it. You can use it while CC'd. All second wind can be used while CC'd,
mm-hmm,
and that does heal stat damage. It gives you 100 restore, so
mm-hmm.
that would be very good. So you can use it even when you're CC'd.
Oh, I was just thinking. What
Yeah,
I was thinking is, what I was saying earlier is we were talking about cleric and all the good stuff they have for soloing. The tier 5 war priest also to get through to prevent yourself from dying. I know you use that to solo Strahd
oh yeah.
Strahd raid.
We-
What is
I
it called?
remember. have a
It,
clip of you showing it to you walking through Death Touch in
yes.
the gelatinous cube.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That too. Yeah,
surprise,
yeah.
surprise
Used
interface
it
there.
for that.
And oh, by the way, I've tried it out. You can walk through the barriers in what's it called, Shroud, the prismatic wall. You can walk through it, no problem. If you got that on, so it saves you the hassle of running around in circles. Just walk right through the barrier.
Yeah, what is it called? It's
I love
escaping me.
trolling
The name of the ability. Ugh.
the divine
Divine
intervention.
intervention. That's what it
Divine
is. Yeah,
intervention.
yeah. Di, di.
It's great. You can
Yeah,
it's so fun to walk through the barrier crowd and watch other players go, oh, you can, and then walk back to and they die.
yeah.
It's like,
Cleric is
nope,
such a
you
good
can't.
class for soloing. I mean, we just talked about the two different tier 5 abilities. You got, Dark Apostate has tons and tons and tons of, like, at least for a first life character, really convenient buffs and
Yeah,
things.
some really
So
very good things in Cleric. I know you
yeah,
like
Cleric's.
talking about Cleric, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can make a
I
podcast
know
about
that
Cleric.
could be another podcast. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I guess other
the
things we can go on
items. You mean
to.
items? Well,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
items.
clickies. I guess. I mean, you have to have like shield or night shield, and those are like basic default things. I mean, if I don't know, stacks of potions +20 resistance or +30 if you're hoarding them, like certain quests or wands. There's a whole bunch of things you would want to have, because in certain situations, since all the firepower is going to be on you and everybody's going to be focused on you, if you can't avoid enough damage, you're just going to die. So like you got to be prepared for certain things. And like the big one is a clicky for at least shield or night shield.
Right.
Yeah, I think the easiest night shield, well, again, comes from the night revels. Get yourself a cloak level 12, 16, or 20. And those are like, you get 5 clickies for 20 minutes. I'm like, those are great. One robe, swap off to it, click on it. You got night shield for the next 20 minutes. And if somehow it gets dispelled or you die, you got another one. So, like, get one robe and you're good.
Yeah, and there's
And there's
one
other places you can get
really
it.
early is Korthos right there. But you have to be able to pick lock to get to it. What's that quest called?
The protective gloves, I think it's called. It's
Yeah,
a
protect your
one
stuff.
charge field clicky from the gate from Necromancer's Doom. No, I don't. Whatever it's
It's
called. The
one of
one where you got
those. It's the
basically
one right
go straight
before
down the
Misery's
hallway.
Peak, whatever that one's called. It might be called Necromancer's
It's
Tomb.
there's ice next to it where the Mephisto is. Whatever.
Yeah, but there's a few different ones. I know there's one. It's higher level item, but there's in the 12 quest, kind of a big deal has one in there. I just pulled that
Yeah,
one a couple weeks
I
ago.
forgot what it's called.
It's really nice. It's
Yeah,
got
boots
three
maybe.
20. It's got
Yeah,
3 20-minute charges.
but
Shield. It
maybe
might be
it's a belt.
five.
Yeah,
It might
I
be
don't know.
five actually. Yeah, I don't remember if it's three or
There's
five.
a heroic version and epic version. I remember that one also. Yeah, that's a very good one. And there's one that comes who's actually from a free to play quest. No, it's actually not free to play. But whatever, Restless Isles. But everybody's not going to do this one. I think it's from Servants of the Overlord. No,
No,
that's not the name of the quest.
that's Harbor. Slavers of the
Slaves of the
Shrieking
Shrieking
Mines.
Mines.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. So there's a Mystic's belt or something like that. It's got 2 shield clickies on it. Yeah, these are like out of the way kind of though. So other than kind of the big deal, if you want to get those, whatever it is, boots, belt, I forgot what the item is, get that. The other one is I just say just go do night revels, get yourself a few kill oaks, and keep them around. I think. I mean, of course, you can have UMD and just use a wand or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But
or
if
just
you
play a
don't have something to
class
deal
that
with,
has shield or night shield.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's got immunity
yeah.
like Cleric. You know that
I
Cleric has an
know.
option to be
I know it is an option. I don't know if I mentioned that.
protection,
Yeah.
but protection, protection domain.
Oh, protection domain. Ugh, no. Gotta go war
Why
domain.
get radiant force field?
Yeah, that's true.
Radiant force
True.
field level 9.
Okay,
What else I
well,
get cast word?
I guess any other clickies. I mean, some things that are nice, like greater heroism, clicky. What else? Because I think that makes you immune to fear, I believe. Although I guess that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's nice to
I
have. There's
find that
also an
most of those
augment,
things are not as important.
and definitely
Not
not
as
as important.
important. If you're trying to do like locks and other things and you want for skill checks, so then I would say, again, these are things who are optional, but they're not a make or break as much. So, like, again, I'm not saying that greater heroism isn't important, but I found that it's more important. It's more critical for trying to do skill checks. Other than that, you can squeeze by without it. It's not
Oh
like
yeah,
going to stop you in the trick.
yeah. So what are the
That's what I
most
mean by
important
it.
ones we got? Like other than night shield, what would you say is super important?
The shield and night so again, remove curse, remove disease,
Mm-hmm.
lesser restoration are like the potions you have to have. Then you have to have some kind of a clicky for shield or night shield, and try to get yourself a hireling who can res you or whatever. Those are like the default things that without it, there's a very good chance that in a lot of quests you're gonna be wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like just tons of small things that happen in different quests who completely can stop your progress, and that's it. You're done. So without those things, you're like you really need them.
Okay, so I guess another thing I wrote down here is how do you is dealing with traps solo. So how essential is it for you to play a class that can do traps solo? It depends a
Here's the
lot on
thing
your
about
difficulty,
soloing.
but there are certain
Yeah,
content. Okay, for me, I don't really. I know you play a lot of trappers. I don't play a lot of trappers, but when I don't, there is certainly some content you can't really. You can do, but it's a lot harder. Or you may have to either drop difficulty or just skip it. Like Three Barrel Cove is the one that comes to mind because those traps improve your worth
yeah,
and
but that's
Ghost of
only
a
an epic.
Chance.
The version is the one who is a one shot kill you.
Which one?
The heroic version is okay. The one with the trap room at the end, Ghost of a Chance, I think it's called. So you go into the first
Yes.
starting room and you have to go down one hallway to get to the part. And there's a few traps over there. On Epic, it's one shot. Basically, even with a trapper, I usually die going down that hallway. It's super deadly. It's not balanced in any kind of a way.
Yeah.
And also, Prove Your Worth, the Epic version, when you're climbing up the lifts, there's these blade traps on the landings. Also one shot. They're like
Oh yeah. I don't know why
extremely
they
tough.
did that. Yeah,
But
for some reason
I
the
don't
the
know. It's
traps in Three
broken.
Barrel
On Epic Elite
Cove
is
are
crazy.
way higher the
Epic Elite,
damage.
only on the Epic Elite though.
No, even
The
on Epic
heroic is not as
Hard.
bad.
Even on Epic Hard, I mean those
I
traps will
never
one shot.
tried.
You haven't. Yeah, go in there in Epic Hard. At least last time I tried it, yeah, they'll still one shot you. The Three Barrel Cove traps. I don't know why they're so much
Yeah, you have
higher.
to be like maxed out on your dex and your evasion to get past them. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
broken. It's not balanced.
right. So yeah,
Yeah.
but other
So
than
here's
the
the thing.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, about soloing again because of when you solo, your progress is much slower. So one of the things you do to compensate for that is I like doing traps because you get that 30% bonus for trapper. That's one of the ways that you get the extra XP for avoiding this problem. So if I don't have a hireling who can do traps, well, I don't have Gargoyle, so I'm doing all the traps myself. So that's really the reason I'm doing it. I'll pick up traps till I get that 30% bonus and then just run through all the traps. I usually play characters with evasion because that's my mindset. I'm not afraid of traps and I'm not afraid of spells. I'm only afraid of melee damage. That's usually my mindset. I know you're the opposite. You play heavy armor, so you're not worried about melee damage. And it's like the traps are the scary things and the spells are the scary things. That's why in hardcore, I'm always I'm always ready to get the trouble because if I'm not playing an evasion character, I'm going to get myself killed.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah,
on
it's so
hardcore,
I don't think that
I was gonna
yeah.
say if I play a really, I do like playing heavy armor characters, but on hardcore or something, I'd play like a paladin, so I have really high saves, so at least I'm not taking full damage from stuff. So
Yeah, for me personally, playing a trapper is something that I started doing it because I just wanted to see where everything in the game is, and I was fed up with finding out that oh, there's a locked gate here, you can't get past this thing or whatever it is. Like I want to see what's there. So not having any choice, I played a trapper so I could figure out everything. So I know all the secrets and I know where all the secret doors are and I know how to unlock all the things and all the stuff and whatever. So but once I got into that mindset of playing a trapper, so I know where basically all the traps are. I'm not so worried about the traps, but I know it's worth a lot of XP. So that 30% extra XP when you're soloing is significant and you need it. So that's really the reason. But you don't have to be a trapper to solo. I would say that if you're playing your first life, you should take it into consideration because if you don't know where the traps are, they're gonna surprise you, and you're gonna like get hit by a trap and you'll freeze in the middle of the trap and you get hit 2 or 3 times and die. So maybe having an evasion character with very high saves will help you with that, so you'll die less to traps. Getting to know it, but
mhm.
you don't have to necessarily be able to disable them, just like not die.
Yeah,
So play a monk with high saves, just have make sure you've got high dex and you don't die into a trap or whatever.
yeah,
As
I
long as you can
think
get past it.
with a trapper, especially if we're talking like a new player, someone playing a first life character, it's kind of rough because your only option is rogue and either rogue or a multi-class build. Multi-class, something like 18 Wiz 2 rogue is going to be might be difficult for a new player, but if you go pure rogue, you're not going to get a bunch of damage because you rely on sneak attacks and you're not going to have sneak attack damage when you're soloing because you always have the aggro. So unless you blind stuff, but yeah, it's a little rougher, but maybe something like if you can find a build
You
for
could
something
do
like 18
Dark
Wiz,
Hunter.
huh? Dark Hunter.
Dark Hunter.
There is, oh yeah, there
Dark
is Dark
Hunter
Hunter
kind
now.
of
Hmm.
it's new and it helps out a lot with that. But the evasion is a different problem. So
Yeah.
Dark Hunter, I don't think you get evasion if I'm not mistaken. You don't
Uh,
get it.
I don't remember. I haven't
You used
played
to get
one.
From Ranger you get it level 9, but I don't think Dark Hunter gets it. I don't remember though. I'll
Yeah.
be happy if somebody fixes me.
Yeah. But I guess this was kind of getting to one of my next questions, which was like classes to choose if you're soloing. I mean, and you don't have to do, and I know we were talking about traps. It's definitely not required to do traps. But yes, but for classes, I mean, it's nice if you want to throw in some trapping levels. But I mean, what classes do you think are good? Like something like I've always told people, if you don't have a specific class you want to play, I think Paladin's really good for soloing because you have good damage, good survivability, good self healing, good saves. You can't do traps, but
Paladin's very good. The problem the Paladin has is it's starved for feats. And if you don't build it right, you'll just waste 1 or 2 feats on things you don't really need.
yeah.
And you'll gimp your character.
Well,
So you
luckily,
should take somebody else's build.
yeah,
Yeah.
I need to make a video about like a first life basic paladin build because yeah, you are limited in feats, but it's not hard to build one a really good one. So you should, unless you mess up your build, yeah. But really, you can mess up your build on any class though. So I don't know if that's
There
really
was
strict
a there
against
was a
paladin.
meta shift that they did some time ago, a few years ago, where they basically started to make it massive packs of mobs in like every quest, where you just walk through a door, bunch of mobs, next door, a bunch of mobs, and it made it so if you play single target damage, you take forever. So it's not how hard it is. I was playing a ranger, and he was like single target damage from a bow and from his weapons, and every time I would walk into a room, it was like 5, 6 mobs, and I have to kill him. And I was like, okay, so this takes 12, 13 seconds because I have to tank each one of them individually. Then we walk down a whole little bit, and again it happens. And just like every quest was taking so much time. When I'd have a character who had a two-handed fighting, and I would just go chop through everything at once and it would go much faster. So definitely go for something who's got some kind of crowd control, not crowd control. I mean, ability
C
to clear
or
big groups
AOE,
of monsters or AOE,
yeah,
or it's
AOE
just gonna take
DPS.
forever. You're gonna suffer. So I would say for soloing, make sure that your character is, of course, survival and was survive has good survivability, but its play style should be AOE.
Yes,
That's like,
absolutely.
if not
Something.
you'll just suffer.
Yeah.
So even if I'm playing rogue or whatever it is, I'm always gonna make sure that my attacks have some kind of AOE. So I'll never play a single target weapon and a single target DPS character without having like whirlwind attack, or it has to have something to attack everything around me, or I'm just wasting my time. I have to go through every target one by one. It just never
Yeah,
ends.
and
Just
that's not to
forever.
say that those builds aren't really good, and they are, but they come into their own later in the game when they get like for single
Yeah,
weapon fighting,
when they
for
come to
example. I noticed
end game
when I
bosses and
leveled
stuff,
my single
the
weapon
best.
fighting character, it was really painful to level until you got to the point where you got all your single weapon fighting feats to where your attack speed increased, or where you got maybe into epic destinies where you could take something like quick cutter, so you had some better AOE DPS. You want to have whatever class you play, definitely have AOE DPS, whether that's two-handed fighting, strike through, whether that's a sorcerer just casting AOE spells, or a divine caster that's casting like firestorm or whatever. Just, you definitely want to be able to kill more than one thing at a time, because if you're playing just an archer or something that's just plinking one character,
Yeah,
one enemy
you're
at a
not
time,
gonna
it
get
is
far.
painful. It's not that you
I've
can't
had
do it, it's
characters
just,
who I literally stopped playing because of it. I
yeah.
just like banked them all. So like I can't you can't play. You just like, if
Yes.
you're soloing, it just takes forever. It's a simple quest because it's like there's so much, yeah, there's so much of this trash. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I would say the easiest, and make sure it's AOE. If you want my recommendation for somebody who's new or whatever it is, two-handed fighting, just big sword, a great sword, or a falchion, or a great axe, whatever your style is, depending on whatever it is. Make sure that other than taking all the strike through things, you have at least one like big cleave attack, and just go and make sure that your character is like good saves, nice amount of hit points. Just go smash everything, and you'll be fine. That's basically it. Those are for getting the basics down. I mean, of course, you can play a caster or whatever it is. Once you know the game, there's so many different options. But if you're just starting out, you're not sure about it. So like basically a paladin, two-handed fighting paladin. Yeah, that would be like the default go to.
Yeah.
It's got all those stuff, survival, whatever.
Yeah. And then there's I think there's other really good options like Dragon Lord. I think is amazing solo right now, but it's a little trickier because your self healing's not as good. Your survivability isn't as good. It just happens to be a really strong class, but it doesn't matter really that your self healing isn't great because you have such good CC. That also the thing great about Dragon Lords is you can use the Dragon's Roar and you can cower everything if you go tier 5 Dragon Lord, and it does so much damage when everything is
Yeah, it's very
helpless.
powerful.
It's
I'm
super
playing a
strong.
Dragon Lord right now. It's really good.
It's a little harder
Again, like you
though
said,
for a new player
healing is the
than
main
for
part.
sure than Paladin, just because if you don't really have a lot of self healing, you just have Second Wind and that's it. Barring any kind of multi-class stuff, like maybe you do Paladin, Dragon Lord, or something. That's a little different, but assuming you're going like pure Dragon Lord. But I also kind of am not as keen on bringing that up. I wasn't as keen on bringing that up just because it's not free to play anymore. It was free for a while you could claim it for Year of the Dragon. But if there's a new player listening to this
Yeah, it's
and you
not.
play
It's
it,
technically not free to
yeah, it's
play.
not free to play
I'm
anymore.
sure there's a lot of players who
You have to
have
be
it, but it's
VIP.
not
If you're
free.
VIP, you can play it, or you can buy it from the store. But okay, so we mentioned Paladin. What other classes do you think are like really good for soloing if you're starting at level 1?
Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Yeah, because of the whatever it's called, blood sacrifice, whatever the thing is, where basically you sacrifice one con for a whole bunch of temporary hit points. When you start off, you've got like, I don't know, 18 con if you're a barbarian. If you're raging, you have even more. But once you get past that blockage in your mind that like, if I've got 18 con, I can actually use this 17 times before I die. That's plenty of healing. It's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you actually have tons and tons of temporary hit points. And once you get to level 12, just killing things gives you back hit points. So it gives you tons of healing. So there's a lot of different ways you can actually heal. So I would say that it's a bit more padded than, let's say, a fighter, and a little bit less finesse about it. If you know the key things you need, you get yourself your whirlwind attack, and you use the blood sacrifice or whatever it's called to heal yourself up. You'll be chomping through monsters, and your hit points will stay up all the time. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
those are
Barbarian. Yep.
basically, again, there's much better classes and better things you can do. I mean, again, probably circles around back to it once you're at like peak Endgame. But uh, if you're just starting out, those are basically the things: either Paladin or Barbarian, one of the two.
So those are
So
melees. So as far as I guess casters, I mean, two that come to mind for me are say something like Blightcaster or Sorcerer, just like Fire Sorcerer or Fire Domain Cleric. I think are all really strong. I did a Tiefling
I would go
Favored
Fire
Soul.
Domain Cleric is better for a starting player because of all the healing.
Yeah, it's
Because
like
you'll make
Cleric. Yeah.
if you're starting off as a caster and you don't know anything in the game is like all the traps or which rooms have all the mobs or like where to avoid certain things, you'll just run out of spell points really fast because you'll be wasting your max spells on like small groups instead of grouping them together, or taking tons of damage and trying to figure out how to heal yourself and using tons of wands and stuff. It can be very painful. I would say go like Fire Domain Cleric or Light Domain Cleric, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Those are
those are
like
the
the two
two.
recommendations.
For a
Yeah,
caster.
if you're starting off, you'll be able to heal yourself. You'll be able to kill everything. You'll be fine. You'll actually be viable in end game also. So if you actually make it that, you'll be fine. You'll be able to join a raid and actually be useful. So I would say those are like for casters. Like every sure anybody who knows how to who knows how to play DDO can jump in and just play a regular wizard or sorcerer and blast through a game, no problem. Good
Hmm.
for them. But if you're a new player trying to solo cleric domain, fire domain, or sun domain, those are the two. I think it's
Yeah,
called sun domain. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
basically that.
those are great. Probably Cleric gets you the self healing, a lot of nice buffs, freedom movement, night shield we mentioned before, trucing, a lot of things that are helpful, or in case of something like night shield essential. But um, let me see. The only thing with Cleric
It
is
even
I
has fine
think
traps.
yeah, he does find traps. Yeah, the only thing with Cleric I think can be a little rough is their spell point pool is a little smaller than well, actually quite a bit smaller than say like Favorite Soul. So new players, if you don't understand that you need to focus on your SLAs, you need to learn how to manage your spell points. And if you aren't, like as a new player, if you're not doing that well, you may run out of spell points. So just be wary of that. If you're a new player, focus on your SLAs because you can boost those with meta magics for free. So
Yeah, SLAs. You use basically for your healing spells. You can use whatever, and SLAs are for all the damage,
so
basically,
I
because you don't
yeah.
want to die.
So I know you play a lot of ranged builds. Are there any ranged builds you think would be good for soloing? As far as when I
for a
say
new
ranged, I mean
player.
like archer, crossbow.
The only easy to play ranged that I would recommend when you're starting out has got to be a repeating heavy crossbow, because you don't need a lot of feats to make the thing work. You need one feat for it to make it work. So basically, as long as you got to the feat that allows you to use repeating heavy crossbows, and it's just cheap. Just go get yourself a wand of flame arrow. You can get it from House J. Just catch yourself stacks of 500 flame arrows. You'll be finishing wands pretty fast. But yeah, go through that and just shoot everything. And at low levels, you just be cutting through everything. The thing is, it's gonna slow down suddenly unless you've got a proper build that allows you to like boost damage from it relative to other things. But if you're just trying to get into ranges, like your low levels, definitely repeating heavy crossbows like the easiest one. Not bows and not great crossbows. And it's like that's definitely the go-to.
Well, the classic, and it's not a free to play class, but the classic Warforged Artificer comes to mind because you've got good self healing. You can do all the traps, although you do have the single target. Maybe some issues with just having single target DPS, but it's not a terrible option. I know on hardcore,
You don't have to play an artificer for that. You
yeah,
can take
true.
any class you want who's got some kind of healing. Just make sure that you take that one feat who allows you to take,
The construct essence
the ability
doesn't
to
only
use it.
give you
Yeah.
50% though.
Contract essence, no. Contract essence you can only take if you are artificer. You have to have
Right,
three
right.
levels to take the first one and 12 to take the second one, and then you could take full healing. You could take full. You don't have to be a warforged for it. You take full healing for it. I mean, if you really want to play ranged, so I would say get yourself up to get some favor, grind out some favor, unlock warforged, unlock harper tree, and unlock artificer. Those are all things you can permanently unlock for your server, not just for your character. And then you can use intelligence to hit the damage with an artificer and your warforged, and you're covered with all bases. Like, keep it for your second life. It's very easy to unlock all three. Well, artificer is not that easy because you're gonna have to do
Mm-hmm.
either some raids or some challenges. You need to get the 150k favor for sorry, no, it's not 150k, 150 house k
Caneth favor.
house Cannith.
Yes,
Sorry, yes, thank you. And once you do that, you'll have it permanently unlocked on your servers, which
yeah.
is once you've done that. So it's kind of free
It
to
is a
play,
pain
I
to
would say.
unlock because you have to do at least back when I checked, I think you have to do some of the challenges, if not a good chunk of them, to
Well,
get the
you
favor.
have a double set of
Even if you,
raids. You have
yeah,
the heroic Cannith raids and the legendary Cannith raids, and they have their own favor. So if you do both sets of them, you'll be pretty much there. When you do that, there's the three quests that you get, the House Cannith quests, and there's a few other random things I think, and I don't know, but this is the Forge maybe is a House Cannith quest. I don't remember.
yeah.
And yeah, there's a few other things,
It's also
and
on
yeah, that's
sale
it.
from time to time. I've seen it for 75% off in the store if you want to just buy it.
What Artificer? Yeah.
Yeah, Artificer, old class. So okay, yeah, I looked it up in the wiki. Yeah, I see. I wasn't aware that improved construct essence was a thing. Yep. So you can get up to 100%. So you don't have to be Warforged. I guess it'll cost you a couple feats though. But yeah, okay. So those are some ideas, I guess, for new players. Anyone who's looking for a build,
Starling Solomon, yeah.
yeah, anyone's looking for a build. If you go to the DDO.com forums, go to the class forums for the class you're interested in, and there'll probably be a build there you can use. If not, make a post there and ask for one. Someone will probably respond and help you out. Or if you want to join my Discord, a lot of players there who play a variety of builds. We can help you out. Links to all that below in the description in my link tree if you want to join that. Okay, so we got through classes. So the next thing on my list was, oh, well, you know what we should do? We should talk about what classes do you think are the worst choices for soloing? Like, is there anything that, and I think in DDO is very balanced, so I don't think there's any, it's not like you can't do it. Any class can solo competently, but maybe there's some that are better than others or worse than others. Is there anything that comes to mind? Like the only one that really comes to mind to me is Rogue, going like a pure rogue or something, just because it's going to be tough to get your sneak attack damage unless you can blind stuff, or until you can blind stuff. It's going to be a little rough because
Got to use improved feint on everything
mm-hmm,
and have to bluff everything all the time. I would say like this: anything with a specialized class, okay, is already. If you want to do solo, you're gonna have to be slightly generalized. You're gonna have to do your own. You have to be able to, take a certain amount of damage. You have to deal damage. You have to be defensive and offensive. You have to have healing. You have to be overall rounded character. Okay, so you can't like min max completely if you're soloing. If you just min max, chances are you're going to come to some place you just can't pass. You're just like, you just can't get by this. You're a max charisma build, and then you do proof is in the poison, and you find that you can't break a door because it's too much strength, and you're like, you didn't even think to bring a throwing dagger, and you can't
Fireball
cast
one too.
fireball. So like, oh
Fireball one
yeah,
works too for that.
yeah. You can find yourself where if you you can lock yourself into certain niche too much. So the thing is, even if you do specialize, as long as you keep certain like basics, you should be fine. The things that you really should avoid is single target damage. If all you do is single target damage, if you're instant killer who does single target damage, but that's all you do, or if you're a melee character who does only single target damage, range character does single target damage, it's just going to take forever. So I don't care how defensive you are. It's basically like trying to be a tank where you can't put out any damage. That's
Yes.
basically the same thing.
That's what I was
So
going to
you won't
mention.
die. Great.
No support
Yeah.
builds. If you're in a solo, you cannot play a support. I mean, you can't play. Don't play a pure like a tank, because you have to have DPS. Don't play a tank. When I say tank, I mean like a focused, like raiding tank or something. You can't
A
level
max
those
tank,
solo.
yeah,
You're not.
fully
It's going
focused
to take you
tank.
forever to do quests. Can't play. Don't play a heal bot that doesn't have DPS and focus only on healing. Don't play like a buff bard that doesn't have DPS. I mean, you can certainly do elements of these things, but just don't make that the focus of your build. If you play a cleric or something, play like a caster cleric that can heal as well. Maybe you can swap to a heal bot in game if you want to. Just don't play like a support only build. Let's see. GD mentioned in chat non-Warforged wizard. I feel is a bad choice. I don't know. I haven't. It's been a while since I played. I actually played a human wizard. I mean, you can get good self healing with Pale Master. So I don't know. I think they've done a revamp pretty recently, didn't they, on Archmage? Yeah, actually about a year ago or so. I haven't played
There's
it,
a
the
few
new
ways to
one,
get
since then.
past it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you don't if you're not gonna go for repair for the heal, so either you have to be Pale Master for the heal, but you can also get it out of the racial tree. If you play Tabaxi, you can get yourself Vigor, and now they've got the new whatever it is called Chaos Mancer also.
Hmm.
You can also get Vigor. So there's other ways to heal, and I'll take all. There's one other way to heal that everybody hates, but it actually works. And actually, I did a few past lives using it, and it's called Silver Flame Healing Potions
Yeah,
and Lesser
those
Silver
used to be
Flame
a
Healing
big thing
Potions.
back in the day. I don't know. I don't see a lot of people talking about them these days, but yeah,
And most people don't know what it is, but
yeah.
it's kind of broken. The penalties are so powerful on it, but whatever. I mean, I used to use it a little bit, and then eventually I found better ways to heal. So, but
Yeah, they've so
it's also an option.
so they have penalties for anyone who doesn't know. Those are potions you can get through Silver Flame Favor. They used to be a big thing back in the day, but over time they've introduced lots more ways to self heal in games. So I don't know of anyone who really uses those anymore. But a non-Warforged Wizard though, I think Eldritch Knights do quite well. If you're undead, maybe there's a few
The
quests
healing's not that
where
great.
you might get messed up, where there's a lot of light damage or something. Like running with the devils comes to mind, but yeah, I think Wizard does okay.
You
Uh,
meant Eldritch Knight, or you meant
yeah, Eldritch
Pale Master?
Knight, yeah, Eldritch Knight, Pale
Eldritch,
Master, well, both, yeah.
well,
'Cause-
Pale Master takes the extra damage from light and stuff like that, but Eldritch Knight, not so much. It's just whatever. It's more like a tanky version, more of a melee focused version.
Okay, let's see, let's get to next thing on my list, unless there's some more you want to talk about regarding classes. But we can move on to,
Nah, well,
let's see, we can move on to maybe difficulty choice. So with players, I see this. I see a lot solo. A lot of players struggle a lot. Of course, you get your vets who can zoom through on R1 just fine, but I think you need to be really cognizant of difficulty choice solo. But you definitely want to do at least elite. Try to do at least elite because you get full favor and you get full delving bonus. But I wouldn't, if you can do R1 to get the extra Reaper bonus, great. But if you're taking twice as long to do R1 than it's taking you to do Elite, I would just focus on doing Elite personally. And I see a lot of players like struggle hard soloing on R1, trying to force themselves to do R1, when really it's way better XP per minute if you aren't strong enough to zoom through R1 than to just do Elite. But I would try to do at least do Elite. If you have to do hard, fine. But hard's a lot easier, but you're gonna be missing a third of your favor throughout the whole game, which can be rough, and you miss part of your delving bonus. What do you think?
I'll say it like this about Reaper is once you have, I don't know, active like 30 to 40 Reaper points, because it's just a flat bonus. I mean, when you step into R1 and has a certain difficulty curve, it doesn't make a difference how many Reaper points you have. Once you have like 30 to 40 Reaper points, it's actually the amount of bonus you get from the Reaper points actually outweighs the difficulty curve. So once you're on that point, R1 becomes easier than if you just did elite without all the Reaper bonuses. The thing is, people forget this, that at low levels, you can't use your 30 or 40 Reaper points because you're capped with how many points you can use. So you have to be able to have, first of all, you have to earn that many points and be able to spend them in your trees, or at least in the relevant trees. So you get to that point where it's actually easier to run on R1 than it is to do on Elite. If not, this is a trap I see people doing all the time. They say it's faster to go R1. Just like you said, it's not faster because you spend up spending doubling your time in the quest. You're not more powerful. You're not getting crazy XP for it. You're just getting a few more XP on your Reaper. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Well,
Just get to a cap,
yeah,
get double Reaper XP, and just level like that.
yeah,
Why suffer during the leveling? So
yeah.
at low levels, like I wouldn't touch R1 at all. Once you get enough, I don't know what level it is. You can unlock like 30 to 40 Reaper points if you have that many. So yeah, so then you should go for R1 because it will actually be easier for you than to just do it on Elite
Well,
because of all the extra
it
hit points
just
and stuff.
depends on like what you're able to do fast. Do R1, totally do R1 if you can do it fast and efficiently. But if you're not quite there, don't. There's no shame in just doing elite or just doing hard if you have to.
For the
If you're,
record, my main character still doesn't have 30 Reaper points, so I'm just
yeah,
saying. So
well,
I'm still not there.
yeah, and yeah. So
That's
just
the solo life for you.
just do whatever you can do quickly. The highest difficulty you can do quickly is the main thing, and focus on XP per minute. Dilemma mentioned a good point, which I should bring up here. We were talking about Pale Master. He said you can get rid of the extra light damage in the Pale Master tree easily. Okay, it's been
Yeah,
a
one
while
of the
since I played,
towards
but I think the last time I did one,
third or fourth core, or
yeah,
maybe even
okay.
second.
So maybe it's not as big deal as I thought. I know last time I just remember last time I played when I did like a vampire build, for some reason, and it really got messed up in that quest. But yeah, maybe it's not as big of a
Yeah,
deal as I was
I
saying.
always take that as one of my first things, but it's still a consideration. But it's more like, is the healing good enough?
Yeah, and the thing with also with Reaper XP, it's generally not a great idea to try to get that while leveling up because, as Albar mentioned, you get a huge bonus to your Reaper XP. Like for example, leveling, you get like what 300 Reaper XP on R1 or something. Whereas if you do a legendary quest, in-game quest on say R10, you get 10,000. Like the other day, I was doing R10 Dread, and we're getting like one quest I got like 10,800 Reaper XP in one quest. So it's just not worth your time. And even if you don't do R10, if you do like R4, R6, you're still getting like 4 to 6K. So it's generally not worth it. And I will say I have been doing R4 leveling in epics lately, just because in a group. And then this isn't soloing, but this is like in a group, I can do it really fast, just as fast as R1, basically. So I've been doing that just for a little bit of Reaper XP and honestly just to make things more fun, entertaining. But yeah, generally, you don't want to try to build your Reaper XP while leveling. Just wait till legendaries to do that. And
Yeah,
by the way, this is
Reaper is definitely
unrelated, but yeah,
not for solo. Yeah.
but don't. I know a lot of people do this. If you get to the end game, make sure you run some stuff at cap to get Reaper XP. Is to progress your character. Don't just immediately reincarnate and miss out on your first time Reaper XP bonus, because that's huge for gaining Reaper XP. But go ahead, Alvar.
Yeah, I'm just saying basically Reaper is really not designed for solo play, so don't be surprised if it doesn't really work out that good. So again, just like you said, get to that cap and then grind a little bit and try to get, some Reaper XP and TR. And eventually you'll get there and you can start doing R1s if you're trying to do solo, but definitely don't try to do it while the leveling. And if you don't have a bunch of Reaper points
Yeah.
already, it's just pain and suffering.
And you can still spend, and I know Dilemma brought this up as well. You can still spend a lot of Reaper points. You are blocked up from spending going too much higher in the tree because it is gated as you go up by what level you are. But it's still, it is very helpful to be able to have those points at low levels. But yeah, it all comes back to do whatever you can do fast. I mean, I know recently I been doing a Paladin Dragon Lord build, and I was zooming through R1, so I just did R1. If you can do R1 fast, great. If it's taking you twice as long to do R1, then just do Elite and focus on getting a Reaper XP when you get to the end game. Yeah, Dilemma mentions R1 is easily doable in groups. Yeah, we're talking solo though, Dilemma. Just solo R1. Yeah, for sure. In
Yeah,
groups, R1 is easily doable in
the topic.
groups, but yeah, in but solo it may not be the case, particularly for new players or ungeared characters, first life characters. So if that's the case for you, then just do elite. And it depends a lot. Yeah, it depends a lot on your build. But go ahead, Albar.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that the topic is solo only, so trying to focus around that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's go on to, let's see. I guess quest. The next thing I've written down was just quest and leveling path. Like, are there any specific quests that you try
Quest.
to avoid or you try to do, or what's your leveling path like when you do it solo? Like, what do you like to focus on? How does that vary from doing things in groups?
Well, basically, I've soloed all the quests in DDO, all the quests in DDO. I didn't say rates. Quests I've soloed all of them, all the unsoloables I've done all of them. So basically now my path is, what am I trying to get? Am I trying to look for a specific item? Am I just going for the fastest path up in XP? Do I have a quest that like I fancy? I was like, I haven't been there for a while. Let's check this out. And that's basically how I pick my quest, because I'm not like gated by any kind of quest that I can do or can't do. There's certain quests I usually don't do unless I'm like, maybe I need to favor on this character. So I'll usually do like the coin lords because I want to open up my bag, and I'll do some house K favor because I'm gonna need to open my bank. And like a list of certain quests I'll do is like, I want to do some giant hold because I want to get some extra hit points, or I want to get a bag from Barovia, or like, oh, I want to flag myself so I'll be able to do some raids later, things like that. Those are the main considerations, and that's how I pick my path as I'm leveling up. And if I get stuck, I'll like, okay, so I need a few more XP, so let's go to do some quest I haven't done in some while. Every once in a while, I'll do Thronal because I want to get the cloak so I can make another augment, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. That's basically how I set it up. So yeah, so it's not. I don't just focus on grinding past lives. Again, that's just me, but it's more like I'm trying to have fun, because when I put myself into the mindset of grinding to try to get a certain result, I burnt myself out of the game. So that's like I stay away from that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've done a pretty good job of balancing the XP. And it's not perfect, but generally, your XP minutes can be decent. And there's certainly some exceptions, but for the most part, you can go wherever you want and get pretty good, pretty good XP. So it's not like you feel. So if someone new is watching this, don't feel like you have to do like certain quests are complete trash XP and certain ones are amazing. Certainly some are better than others. But I know for me, when I think of this, I would say you want to go after House K favor stuff just so you can get bank space. I think that's really important, just super useful for new players to unlock that. Other than that,
Yeah,
you might want to
if it's your
focus.
second past life, you're going to have to, because you won't be
Yeah,
able to get your TR
you
cash in
might want to
TR.
focus on quests that give you good gear. So even if you don't, so you have a chance to pull stuff you might use in future life. So like Feywild quests and heroics, for example, it might be good so you can pull items. Maybe if you want to use an epic Saltmarsh set, maybe hit Saltmarsh at low levels. So maybe you pull something you can upgrade later. Um, Other than that, I would say maybe focus on. I think it's always a good idea to focus on things with sagas, just because the quests generally have about as much XP per minute as other quests, but the big thing is you can get a big XP gem at the end of those. So sagas, like especially when you get into epics. There's a lot of any kind of expansion saga is good. There's the Giant Hold saga. There's even stuff like what there's 5 sagas in Evening Star. You've got Three Borough Cove and House to Death
Heroic, there's
saga.
two. There's two heroic sagas and five epic sagas.
Right, I meant epic. Yeah, yeah. There's so 2 heroic and 5 epic. Okay, but I knew there's 5 epic. I do those all the time. So yeah. Is there?
I would say for heroic
Oh,
leveling, though, I would like don't. I would say that Delira's
oh yeah. It's a
and
good point. Delaris.
is a good chain for if you want nice XP. Three Barrel Cove, heroic Three Barrel Cove gives tons of XP, and people, I don't know, skip it all the time. Like, we'll do it in epic. No, do it heroic. Get all that XP. It's very, very good XP. You'll be flying ahead. All of a sudden, you'll be like, oh, I'm capped already. I can take another level. So Three Barrel Cove has got broken XP. And then
Cogs
I think
also has broken
Vecna.
XP.
What?
Cogs XP is amazing if you can
Oh,
do the
Cogs.
whole. If you can fly through it
Cogs is
fast.
good. I personally, for soloing, I don't like Sharn so much. Sometimes it can be very punishing. So I found out that Vecna Unleashed on Elite to solo is less punishing than trying to do Sharn on Elite.
Well, I just
There's certain
mentioned.
things who can mess you over.
Well, I think of Cogs because you can get through it fast, and you get this big saga reward for not. It's probably the shortest saga in the game, and you get the big saga reward at the end. So I know running Cogs is really popular when people get into the 15 to
Again,
19
the
range.
problem with Cogs is, as if you're a solo player, it's how punishing it is if you mess up. If you're halfway through a Cogs quest and you die and you have to re-enter, you have to run back to the Cogs, which again, it's out in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere. And if you don't make it back in fast enough, your 5-minute timer will reset. These are the kind of things you don't think about as much when you're in a group. You never had to reset a Cogs quest, so they're always fast. But if you're doing it solo and something goes wrong, one of those little spiders creeps up on you and blows up and you die, and you can't get to the shrine, like, that's it. Now you have to restart the whole thing. And that running through the quest and back is one of those things that really grinds on your nerves.
Okay,
If you have
yeah,
to,
that's fair. Hopefully, you would do a
again,
difficulty
this is
that.
only because of solo.
Yeah, well, this kind of ties in the early. I mean, hopefully, you're doing a difficulty that you're comfortable with. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
The
You could
difficulty is fine. It's just that it has certain elements of it who are super punishing.
the
Like they feel random.
the beetles
You
and
get
what is
swamped
that?
by 100. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Certain
that
things
one.
are like
Those can blow up and kill you, and the
they
forge
have like
rates can be
certain
rough. Okay,
spikes in the difficulty. Forge
fair,
rate, yeah.
fair.
So that's the only thing. Again, for soloing, I just too many times I've soloed it and had something blow up or something go wrong, and die and lose all my progress and have to go back.
And yeah, we mentioned Delaras. If you don't have a voice of the master on your character, you want to do Delaras while you're leveling for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely
So you
gotta
can
get
get
one.
get the 5% XP trinket there. You mentioned Threnel. You can make that into an augment later if you want to do it. Although Threnel is kind of a rough adventure pack, to be honest, just because you can break the chain and I don't know. You got
Well, if
coil
it's the
can
first
bug
time you're
out.
doing it, you don't really know how much you hate it yet because you
Yeah,
haven't tried it.
yeah, yeah. Ugh.
Just make sure you pick up that cloak and you won't have to do it ever again.
Yeah. So okay. Well, is there any other quests that come to mind as definitely hit these or definitely
Good
avoid
for
these?
XP as you're leveling? Nah, not really. They're all basically that was my basic guideline. I don't have anything specific. I try to make sure that I'm having fun. That's basically my thing
Yeah.
about it. Every once in a while, I'm like, I wonder how I can do this quest if there's a new way to do it. So then I go check out some kind of new thing or new character. It's like, hey, you know what? I want to check out all the optionals in this quest. I haven't done it in a million years, so I go and try it out. But I'm just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
So
If you need to
I'm going for
unlock,
XP. I just said,
yeah, if you need to unlock stuff, I would just say hit anything you want to unlock, whether that's Artificer or Ravenloft for Vistani. Another good one, we mentioned the Harper Pin earlier. Harper Pin is so good when you need to when you're soloing, because it can get you out of CC for free once every, I think, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So if you have, definitely hit Harper
10
favorite
minutes
quest to
for
get one
less
of
or 5
those.
minutes for greater.
Yeah, so definitely hit Harper favor quest. It's a lot of favor to get the greater Harper pin, but you definitely want to do that. Once you get that, if you reincarnate, you get to keep your Harper pin. So it's super good. Darius says, speaking of Harper pin, how many Harper pins are there? There's two. There's a lesser and greater, and the greater has a shorter cooldown. I think Albar said 5 minutes and 10 minutes.
Yeah, the first reward you get from Harper is the lesser pin, because cooldown of 10 minutes. Second reward you get from Harper is the Harper tree, and the third reward is the greater pin. I think that's the order, and it's a 5-minute cooldown. So yeah.
Okay,
One last thing I should mention,
sure.
it was not really a quest, but if you're soloing and you find yourself stuck where you don't really have any quest to do, and you're like, everything's too hard for my level, or you did everything already, you don't know what to do, don't forget that there's something called wilderness areas. I've been memorizing all the wilderness areas locations. I just run through the wilderness, pick up all the locations. It's tons of free XP. It's just so easy. You don't have to go out and kill 3,000 kills. I mean, that's not fun doing it solo.
Yeah, solo
The
Slayers is rough solo. You don't want to do it Slayer
Yes,
solo. But yeah, but you're talking about running and hitting the
you
explorer
don't have
points.
to do the slayers. Do
Yes.
the rare encounters, and you can do the explorer. The explorer is the big one. Just do one round of explorer and pick up all the explorer. Go to the explorer zones. Anything within your range will can still give you XP, and you'll be very happy with the XP.
In the
It can like
DDO
push you through
wiki, yeah, go ahead.
that
Sorry to
last
interrupt.
rank. If you're like halfway through the last rank and you're like, I can't get enough XP to level up. This happens like at level 19 a lot. Go to Shavrath and just run around and pick up the explorers. It's plenty. Yeah, like you're saying, the wiki has the maps of
Yeah, the
everything.
wiki has the map. It may not be super fast XP at first, but once you learn the spots and you get good at it, it's pretty good XP. Once you know the locations, really learn them, know how to get around the wilderness area, you can just run around and click the explorer points. You also can pick up rares along the way. I mean, there's a lot of like Isle Dread or Salt Marsh come to mind that have good gear that's only in the wilderness area. So those are good ones to hit for sure if you're soloing.
Yeah, Sand has unique gear that comes just from the wilderness.
Yeah.
And you can pick up also the whatever those tokens are that you get bronze tokens, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can change them for like get yourself another ring of spell storing.
That
So there's a
brings
lot of
up.
good things like that.
I should have mentioned that when we are doing talking about items. Ring of Spell Storing. Gotta get that solo. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives basically a, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, the Ring of Spell Storing, you get what, three for the, I think three for the epic, five for legendary version. You can have one of each in
Yep.
your inventory. They give you basically three major mnemonic pots, and then five for the legendary. I think it's major mnemonic, but it's just a ton of spell points you can get for free, three times per rest, five times per rest, like an infinite spell point pot clicky, continually rejuvenating. So that's so good, especially on a caster playing a sorcerer or wizard or something that goes through a lot of spell points. Maybe you don't care if you're on a melee, but on a caster, it's super good. Um, let's see. All right, so I guess other than that, what about gearing? So how do you? Because gearing solo inevitably is going to be much more difficult getting named items. So you're basically one run solo. If you're trying to farm a specific piece of gear, it's going to be equivalent to what? It's going to be what? Five runs in a group. Five runs solo is going to be equivalent to one run in a group if everyone's willing to pass. So
6 runs.
there's certain gear that you don't necessarily have to farm from a chest. So or ones that aren't maybe too much harder to farm. So anything you can buy, like dinosaur bone, I think it's really good because you can buy all that with just farming wilderness areas or farming quests. So I think one that comes to mind is like dino bone stuff. Maybe get something like affirmation on a weapon. Really good solo, get temporary hit points.
Yeah, the big problem if you're playing a solo character is trying to get certain gear. If it's based on a random drop chance, and if it's just one player in the party, it can take literally forever. I have tons of characters that ran Three Barrel Cove many times, and I only have one Gibbers on one character. So not running in a group all the time definitely puts a damper in your chances of getting certain named gear. So my workaround for that is I have multiple accounts. So if I'm going to farm gear, I'm going to have 5 extra tunes with me, and we're going to all go and pull the chest together so I can pass it. Because if not, it'll take literally forever. My other workaround is I collect and I store every piece of gear. So I've got multiple characters stacking up every piece of gear I ever find. And, I have one of each. So if I need to have for some kind of build, I need a specific item, I go and look for it, and I usually have it. So I've been like slowly building it up because I can't afford to just like, okay, we'll just run it with the group. We'll do 2, 3, 4 runs and we'll find it. Nope, it doesn't work like that. If you do it
Yeah.
by yourself, you can just run again and again and again. It'll start costing you tons of shards if you guys start getting impatient, start re-rolling chests, especially legendary chests.
Mm-hmm.
15 shards every time you re-roll,
It's
45
super
times,
expensive.
45 shards. It just like skyrockets
Well,
the price.
and for that
So
reason, yeah.
anytime you have guaranteed items, like you were saying before, Dino Bones, those things make your life much easier because it's like a finite amount. That's why I keep on recommending Night Revels because there's no RNG. It's just you go in, you do the thing, you get the stuff, you buy it, and that's it. So anytime you have something like that as a solo player, I would always recommend it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the RNG.
One other one that goes, I think, up in value a lot if you're soloing is the Salt Marsh gear. It's not the best gear in the game, but you can upgrade it. If you get the heroic version, you can upgrade it to epic, and you can upgrade it to legendary. So you can farm
Yes.
out way over level the heroic gear, and when you farm it heroic, you can do rerolls, and the rerolls are what, 3 shards on
Three,
heroic, two
yeah,
three
three
shards.
shards. I
So it's super
I
cheap.
farmed out basically all
You
the
can
gear like
farm
that.
out. It's you get a 5 piece Salt Marsh set that can power you through epics just fine. It's good in epics. Get it to legendary if you want. If you're solo, again, it's not the best gear in the game by any means, but it's very viable. And you can have a 5 piece
It
legendary
is,
Saltmar set, and
yes, because how
it's fine.
available it is, it almost makes it
Yeah,
the best
yeah. For the
for
grind
solo
per
players.
power, it's super good for
Yes,
solars. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So and then we went over the
So
Donovan
much
crafting
game.
stuff. You can buy the blanks. You don't have to. You can buy the blanks from the Tabaxi vendor in Aldbar, so you don't have to rely on a drop for those. Even though they do drop from the with the purple name chests in the wilderness area, you can also
Yeah,
just buy them from ingredients for the vendors. You can get the ingredients by
yeah, they're
soloing
cheap,
quests
25
or
each.
soloing the rares. Yeah. So I think those are some those things come to mind immediately for me because but when you're
Anything was you can buy.
anything you can buy like
Basically,
the
yeah,
ring of the stuff in the sands that you can buy like the whirlwind what is it
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
whirlwind two-hander
All the yes, all
falchion.
those items
Is
because
it
you
called
can just
whirlwind?
farm out.
I think whirlwind. Yeah,
Yeah,
two-hander.
no, the
The
falchion's called
falchion.
Zoom or
Oh,
Exum
that's
or
what I was
whatever it's
thinking of.
called.
The zoom or there's a really good
Whirlwind is
sword.
the great sword.
I can't remember if it's the
Great
great
sword.
sword or the falchion.
Whirlwind,
One
yeah.
of them's really good. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
both good.
Yeah, but go talk to, if you all are watching, go to Masai Makimbe. He's the NPC he's in one of the little houses in the sands area, so you can talk to him and look at all the lists of items he has. And if you need bronze tokens, you can farm this from the wilderness area. I'll link it below in the description. I did a whole video on how to farm those, but that's a good option. I don't think, is there any other options? I mean, there's also some stuff that may be easy to solo, easy to farm heroic, like sand stuff that you can make epic or make legendary solo.
All of the
Which,
items you can upgrade. So
yep,
the all the things who have pack ingredients now are way easier to farm heroic and then just upgrade them up to legendary. So all of those items become way more valuable for solo player. I don't know, the antique great axe, let's say, that
hmm
you get from the Fjarlin Carnival chain.
yeah,
So
it's
it's
from
super
the
easy to get
snitch.
them
Yeah,
base, and I just upgrade it to legendary, and there you go, you get a legendary item. It was really good, and you don't have to like run a million chests to get it. You can just re-roll the. So it's really good.
yeah, yeah. So, oh, and Kenneth crafting as well. We have to mention, you know, I'm not a Kenneth
Again,
crafting
yes,
expert.
I am a strong believer in Kenneth crafting because of how good it is in filling out certain niches. Because you might have this one item that you really need to get, where you can go farm out from a quest, or you can just craft something who covers the same bases. And it's like if it's only 90% of the power, but I can get it right now, the Kenneth crafting wins. It's like it's so much better. You
Yeah, and
don't
there's
have to
also,
grind a million
and you
times.
mentioned this earlier, but events, items from events, you don't have to to grind the events. It depends on the event because some like I think the anniversary event is really rough to do solo, but others like Night Rebels
Painful.
are really good for soloing. Actually, I think better for doing them solo. So there's some good gear from events. So when they come up, look at the gear list. Maybe you want to check those out, or look in the wiki under events. You can look at the gear there as well. But okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it for gearing. The next thing on my list was, I guess you want to get into, let's see, you want to get into raid soloing now?
We
What you've
have
done raid
the
soloing? Like what raids are
the
doable?
last two things are quest soloing, the unsolvable quests, and then the unsolvable raids. I guess are the last two subjects.
Yeah.
So we want to go for the unsolvable quests first, but then we can leave the unsolvable raids for the end.
Well, I was gonna go more on the other side of it and just say like, okay, what raids are actually achievable solo, which ones are not. I mean, I think almost
So
every
far,
raid,
the only one who hasn't been soloed
Von 5.
is Von 5.
Yeah.
Even Von 6 has been soloed, but
Yeah.
they it has been soloed. Then there was a fix added to it. I don't know if anybody soloed it since the fix, but Von 5 has never been sold. I've done a solitary run of Von 5, so I know how all the mechanics work. I've done everything in Von 5, but
With a
I had
alt
seven
account.
characters in there.
Have,
Seven actually, but whatever.
oh,
I mean,
okay.
just because I had that many, so who were flagged for it and at level, so I bring them all in. Because
You
if
had
I not,
seven
we only,
alt accounts.
I said they were flagged and at level. I didn't say I have only seven
Okay, okay,
accounts.
okay, okay. Oh, okay, okay. I thought you meant you went in there with like 8 characters or 7 characters.
Seven characters. No, I
Wow.
did. I went
Okay,
in with
okay.
seven characters.
Yeah, and there's
You
nothing
need
wrong with that.
six to make it to get the doors. Basically, you need to make small windows on your screen with all six accounts lined up, and each one of them next to one of the valves and the switches. And you click, go through to all of them. And even that's hard to do. I'm not joking. The timing is so tight. Even going from screen to screen, you have to go through each one of them. And you have to double click the action button, just move on to the next
Yeah.
screen, and you barely make it.
And you can do it duo, by the
Multiple
way.
attempts.
We've done it. Me and you have actually done Von 5 duo.
Duo with no
Yep.
pet.
Yep, duo no pets. We've done it. So if you have one friend, you can it's hard. The timing on the lever what is it? The lever in the three lever rooms is tough, but
Yeah.
it's doable. It took us like maybe 5-10 minutes of trying to eventually get it.
The
So
question is what's harder, to get six extra accounts or to get an actual friend?
exactly. exactly. I think many would say six
It
extra
depends.
accounts is easier. So,
It
but
could
yeah,
be.
okay. So yeah, but technically every raid but Von 5 is soloable. Von 6 soloable. I don't know about Von 6. But I mean, obviously you have to do Von
Uh,
5 solo to get to Von 6 solo unless you want to have a
I'm
friend
sure it's
do Von 5 with
doable.
you
I
who then
wouldn't call
drops.
it
Yeah, I'm
soloable.
not sure if Von 6 has been soloed, but all of them technically are, but I mean realistically like and we both soloed. I mean, using your great guide, I was able to solo Twilight Forge, and you've soloed as well. But it's not practical. You have to have a very specific build. It's just not. It's not
Yeah,
reasonable.
but if you do have the build, it is consistent. So there is a clear
Hmm.
way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't have yet a clear way to do a Von 6, for instance. Even though I'm sure if I mess around a lot, I'll probably get lucky. If I get like a pet or a skeleton and put them on one base and have my ooze on the second base and I stand the third one, I might pull it off.
Hmm.
Okay. When we did our 2-man run, the one who killed the pillar in the middle was an ooze. Okay. I attacked it until I had an ooze spawn for my weapon and just left it there and it ran out
Ah.
and waited for it to break the pillar. Okay. So, but that's sketchy. I wouldn't say that's like a consistent method.
Hmm.
Okay. Have your ooze break the pillar. You have no control over it. It's like, so I don't know how much I would call that soloable. I mean, it might be. I might be able to refine it, but I don't have anything for it
Well,
yet.
let's just get
But
into the
I
ones
think
that are. Yeah, let's just get into the ones that are for sure doable for people who are soloing. I mean, immediately
if
self.
you're soloing, yeah, the first one I would say is try to solo heroic chronoscope. Do it at a cap level character, and you'll find out there's a whole bunch of things you didn't know about soloing. Like if you've been dependent on a hireling, you're like, oh, you can't bring a hireling in here. So now healing's on me. And what is this? All of a sudden, you can't crowd control all these purple bosses, and there's a whole bunch of other things that like hit you in surprise. It's not going to be very hard, but you'll have to learn them. And I would say start Chrono. That's like your gateway into soloing things.
Yeah.
Be way over level, do heroic Chrono. Get that first before you start anything because you don't need a specific build to do it. You should have basic, soloing skills. So that means basic survivability, and you should be able to get through it without any problem.
Yeah, and any build, there's a bunch of raids that any build can do. And yeah, you may need to be over level, quite a bit over level, maybe. Unless maybe you're a great player, you can do it really close to level. I know there've been players who've soloed. I think there's been players who've soloed like legendary chronoscope on normal. But if you're just be over level, you can solo heroic or epic chronoscope. But yeah, chronoscope is a good one to start with. The demon queen's a little trickier just because it can be a little painful if you don't have range damage to hit her on the ledge, but it's
You
pretty
you
easy
need
to solo
some very
otherwise.
specifics.
you,
It's
you
not
just need
really
some
that.
range. You just
It's a
need some
trick.
range damage. I mean, that's all. Just some range damage.
No, you also have to be survivable. This is something that people take for
Well, but I
granted.
mean running it
If you're
over
not
level. I mean if you're running it over level,
even over level, the Demon Queen will hit you with her 6 kopushes and you'll die.
yeah. But if you're like level 32, you're running it heroic. It's gonna be fine.
On heroic, okay. So then you only need range level. Ranged, you'll be okay.
Or even if you're
But
running
you'll
on
be
normal and
surprised.
epic, you'll be fine on a 32. I mean, unless you really messed up your build. If you just have some DPS, you should be fine. Some self healing.
No, she will hit you 2 3 times and just kill you. I know. I tried.
Okay, okay.
If you're used to playing a character who's got a lot of self healing like a cleric, or you're heavy armor, got proper armor and PRR, you don't notice this. I've done it the wrong way with many squishy builds,
Okay.
and for a lot of builds, it's just a death sentence. You stand in a
If you don't
circle.
have PRR.
You're getting Yes, you're getting pecked by all the different ranged characters standing on top. Well, again, you probably have never noticed that those things actually do damage. They're hitting you with arrows, and then she comes down and hits you like once or twice or 3 times, and you're dead. That's it, unless you can try to get away from it. And in which case, she hits you and she overruns you, and you're flat on the floor. There's a whole bunch of really annoying things that happen there.
Okay, well, fair enough.
So,
But if you are over, just do whatever difficulty you can do. Then, I mean, if you can only do, you can still do it. If you have to do it on heroic, whatever, then wait level 32. That's fine. But you should be able. Anyone should be able to do it, even if it's heroic normal, like over level.
there's
Should be
one
fine.
one raid I'd recommend before that would be Tempest Spine,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Tempest Spine has a few tricks in it where like you won't get punished and die for doing it, but you probably won't be able to finish it if you don't have enough strength or enough intelligence, or if you can't do the timing of what's it called, the ice, fire, and ice. You won't be able to finish it. So those are like 3 new things you have to like deal with. So it's not as punishing as Demon Queen because again, if you don't have the proper build for Demon Queen, you either just die in one shot or you'll stand there for 5 minutes trying to hit the Demon Queen and find like, nope, you can't get past her damage reduction that she gets because of she's a demon, and you're like, okay, I can't. I guess I can't do this. So I would say do heroic Tempest Spine first. It's much easier.
You do have to
Again,
have
you'll start
the only hiccups.
certain
What
like
is fire
things.
and ice, and then because you have to get those within a certain window, right? And then you've got the strength levers. But if you can get those, you should be fine.
Intelligence lever
Intelligence as
also.
well. Yeah. Um, I think other one.
Heroic's not a lot though.
Yeah. Other ones, if you know how to use the solver, Reaver's Fate's real easy solo. You just have to know how to do the puzzle. Not to plug myself
Yeah,
again,
take
but
a
I got
first
to.
time to do the solver. Yeah,
Yeah, I have a video how to do it with the solver. It's not hard if you know how it works. But if you're the level 32, you shouldn't have a problem soloing it on normal, assuming you know how to do the puzzle. That's the only thing. You just have to know how the raid works. But there's nothing in terms of like DPS or anything that should prevent you from doing that one. And then Fall of Truth is another one. I think if you're at level 32, doing it on normal, I think is doable for the vast majority of builds. I mean, maybe not. Maybe if you're on a weaker build, have no gear, maybe it's hard for you. But as long as just bring an electric absorb item, so there's no mechanics in there that require a group. You just have to have some range GPS, some kind of lightning damage, like Ring of Flickering Steel or something to deal with lightning electric damage. But other than that, should be fine. So those come to mind. I'm trying to think. Is there any other raids you bring
we
up
can
as
just run
like?
down the whole list, and I'll tell you all the ones that I think that are good to solo, not good to solo.
Okay. Well, I know. Well, there's some that are bad. Just like Deathworm, it's possible to solo, but you're gonna
Very
get pulled
punishing.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you're gonna get pulled out. You have to make sure you get certain rooms. It's not a good time. Like Thunderholm as well. The other raid, Fire on
Here's
Thunder
the thing.
Peak
Yeah,
is kind of
there's certain
it's maybe not impossible, but it's really kind of impractical for the average player to solo that one.
there's certain raids where if you have a specific thing, you can just do it, and if you don't, you just can't. And certain raids where there's like a technicality to it. Certain things are just like how much grind you want to do for past lives, because that's basically what it comes down to. It's not so much your technique, it's just how much patience and time you have to spend in the game. Because if you don't have all those extra PR or MR past lives, you just can't do it. I mean, try to do a fire over Moorgrave. If you don't have enough MRR to survive all the rocks, I mean, you're not gonna be able to go and clear them all the time. So you're gonna have to stand and focus on the boss because you are the tank. So you have to be next to the boss at all times, and you can't clear out the rocks. And they're just damaging you all the time. How many stacks of damage can you take before you just die? So if you don't have tons of MRR to suck it all up, and then you have tons of healing to cover, you're not gonna be able to do it. So if
I've
you
never
have all the
done.
extra past life and stuff,
Yeah, I've never tried Morgrave solo. I'm sure it's been soloed though.
yeah, it's been soloed.
Yeah, but
You would have to have good DPS, but you'll see that you probably, once you get like 10 stacks of the rocks and stuff, will start being kind of rough. But you probably could do it. It'll
right.
just take you a good amount of time. So again, those are like it's not so much, I can't give a new player a guide how to do it because they just can't. They don't have the actual base necessities to do it. Again, they're not supposed to be able to do it, but it's technically soloable. So if you're an end game character and looking for a new challenge, so then that is for you. You've been doing tons of past lives and you got completions and stuff. You should definitely go try it out.
I think
If not, you
VOD is
can't.
another one that's good to solo. I mean, you need curse pots, but there's no mechanics in there.
Heroic or legendary. There's
Whatever
two
you can
different
do.
beasts. Those two things.
What? Oh yeah, I mean probably heroic most reasonably. I mean I'm sure
Heroic is, yeah, it's a
for
fair.
for
It's a
for
nice
like the
challenge.
average player, yeah, there shouldn't be an issue doing heroic way over level 32 VOD. There's no mechanics in there that require you to have a group, so should be fine. You can't do
Yes, it's-
traps, but if you're running it over level, the damage isn't going to be an issue from the traps, so that's doable. Those are I guess those are
Here,
really the
I'll do
ones.
my faster.
Yeah, I've never soloed a Hound either, but I think I've heard Voodoo talk about this quite a bit. But it's that one's soloable as well. But I'm not sure exactly how that's done. It's a little trickier with the Hound, but at least VOD
Do
should.
Epic Hound. I'll strongly recommend doing Epic Hound. The normal is easier than doing Heroic Hound. Heroic Hound, first of all, there's a long walk up. There's no shortcut that they get there. They didn't make a shortcut because it's free to play, so they punish you with walking. And if
Isn't
you mess
there
up, you'll
isn't
have to
there?
rewind.
I thought there was for heroic. There's nothing in the marketplace there. I thought they added
No,
direct enter.
they added it for VOD, a direct enter for VOD, but there's not a direct ender for hounds. You still
Really?
have to walk the
Okay.
hound. And if you don't know how to get there, it just takes forever. So heroic hound, skip it. And also the heroic pups and hound are not red named. They don't have a lot of hit points, and they die in like 2 hits by mistake. So if you swing your weapon, like you can kill them with no problem. And if you do legendary, they're all red named and you've got way more hit points and it's way more forgiving, so you don't mess up and accidentally hit them. And also the hound doesn't kill them as fast. So it's actually much easier to do it on legendary normal than to try to do it on heroic. So try legendary normal hound. Well, let's go through the whole list over here.
Okay. Yeah. Go through the
You
list
got
if you
her
want to. Mm.
Heroic Chronoscope is my go-to start with. Do that one first, and the next one I try to do is Tempest Spine. Plane of Night, forget that one. Vault of Night, also forget that one. Twilight Forge. What Twilight Forge is not. The difficulty is the puzzle. So if you like puzzles, if you're the kind of person who goes to Ghost of a Chance and solves the puzzle, the light puzzle to end over there because you think it's fun, so this is a good puzzle. But if you're not into puzzles and you're just like, just give me the solution, let's put it like this: if you've never done the extra, there's I forgot what it's called, Schemes of the Enemy. There's a quest in House C where there's 3 different gates you have to get through, and each one of the gates is a puzzle way to get through it, or there's a brute force way to get through it. The second door, there's 2 big pylons you can break, or you can go through. There's a whole bunch of puzzles. If you've never done those puzzles, you don't like puzzles. Skip this one.
Well,
I'll
yeah, you
say
don't
this is a
Twilight
very,
Forge. You have to have a specific build. It's not soloable unless you have very specific things in your build. It's you have to basically cater your whole build around it. So it's not doable solo. You can run in there
you
and
can
anyone.
do it. You can do it. What's it called? Pretty easily if you have a
Yep.
second account. So you don't have to have any special build for that. So you can, if you have 3 accounts, they don't need anything but underwater action. And if you want to do it with just 2 accounts, one of them has to have a pet.
Okay, that's
But
fair. If you
those are
want to
like
do a
the
box, yeah.
requirement.
If you want to do a box, you can
Yeah,
you can do
dual
it
box.
solo.
You don't need a very crazy build or anything. If
Right.
you want
Right.
to do solo, you're gonna need a yeah, you're gonna need a special build. So that's Twilight Forge. Titan Awakes is actually not that hard, but you have to have good balance and good timing, and
But you
be
have to
ready
have
for
done
failing and
Twilight
have
Forge
race.
to get there. You've done Twilight Forge to get there,
Yeah,
so it's kind of
that's the problem.
irrelevant. Yeah. So
There's a Zombie's Revenge again on heroic is really good to start. On epic, you're gonna have to do some adjustments to your build, either to fix out the range or to fix out your damage reduction, or you're just gonna come in and die or not be able to do anything.
just have
So,
range. Yeah,
but
just
it's
have range
also
damage. If you have some kind of range damage,
yeah,
you should be able to do heroic, no problem.
yeah, and epic also with some adjustments to your build, you should be able to pull it off. At least on
Yeah, just get it. Even if you're
uh,
on a melee, just get a thrower. You can do. You should be able to heroic, no problem. Like level cap.
heroic. Yeah,
Yep.
I got
Probably epic too, but
the I did the epic strike from whatever it's called, the Grandmaster of Flowers, Drifting Lotus. I forgot what it's called. There's a ranged attack that the monk can take as its epic strike. Forgot the name of the thing. And I
hmm
did one shot and it hit the demon queen. So you definitely don't need a lot of DPS on heroic.
yep.
Okay. Reaver's Fate we already mentioned. It's
hmm
pretty straightforward. Just use a Sarvo if you're trying to do it by yourself. So don't get too complicated. Ascension Chamber. This is heroic abbot. This is it's very soloable technically. Definitely don't start with it if you're adventurous and you really want to push
It's
yourself.
really
It's
tough
possible
because
to
of the
do. I've
tile
done it. I've
room.
done it multiple times for real. So it is possible to do pretty consistently, but it's not a. It's not, you get good at it once you do it a few times, but I wouldn't. You definitely don't start with it.
You
So
need
yeah,
some tricks to run down. Like in your video, you have a video on this, and you have to have some tricks to run down the middle in the what the tile room, and
yeah.
and you want to get both sets of goggles. It's yeah, it's
I
doable,
spent
but
like
you
10,
you're
10
gonna
minutes on
have
the
to
run and 30 minutes on explaining how
you're
to do
you're
it.
gonna have to take yeah you're gonna have to guess a lot when it comes to the jumping and get kind of lucky to get through the tile room solo. But
Yep.
anyways, what's the next one?
Next one is Heroic Shroud, which is very solo bull on an overlevel character. And again, you will find out certain things about this project you probably didn't know, but it's a very fair challenge. It's overall balance. You don't really need a specific character. If you don't have a trapper or somebody with knock, you might be forced to break the crystals to finish phase 3, which means you'll miss out on 2 chests. Boo hoo. But That's basically it. And
So you
phase
need to
three
be
will
able
take you
to have
forever
some kind of range
when you
damage to
solve.
break crystals, or you need the
Yes.
some way to open lock to get into the puzzle rooms. That's really the only hold up on Heroic Shroud
Yeah,
is that
and it will
also the
take you a long
beginning you got to be able to make sure you get to the portal keepers solo, which shouldn't be a problem. You just need to pay attention so that you don't fail on phase one, the shroud.
Yeah, phase one, you'll learn certain things about the portal keepers. In phase two, you'll have to learn about timing, how to split up the different bosses, which depending on the bosses can be pretty tricky. But again, if you watch a guide, you'll learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too hard,
Yeah.
but it again, it has some finesse to it. It's definitely don't start as your first raid. There's things to learn about it.
Okay, so what's the next one?
Next, we've got heroic VOD,
Yeah, so we
which is
talked about
basically
that.
straightforward.
Easy.
Bring curse pots.
Yes,
The
bring
end.
curse pots, or the hardest
Uh,
Sumali trinket is good too. Makes you immune to curses. So,
yeah,
but that's my bet. If you're solo,
you have
maybe
to
you probably
know
won't have it because you have to. Yeah.
you'd have to first get it so you can solo it. Hound of Zoriat, the heroic version. It's do the legendary first and then come back and get the favor from the heroic one. But don't start with the heroic Hound of Zoriat. You just get frustrated. You'll accidentally kill the hounds. You have to reset and a whole bunch of other annoying things. If you do Hound of Zoriat, please bring immunity to negative levels when you're practicing it for the first times. It will drive you crazy because it'll take you too long and you start getting energy drained by the beholders and you lose your mind. So if you got that, you'll be able to spend even 20 minutes. You won't fail. It'll just take you a long time to finally get it to work. So that's my strong recommendation for that one. Next one we got Master Artificer. Artificer. Just make sure you've got range DPS, and preferably if you got strong range DPS for the end fight. If you don't want to have to kill the Titans twice, and electricity absorption. That's like the big thing, but it's pretty solo. Then you got TOD. Did you ever solo TOD?
Yeah, TOD is not hard to solo. Just it's even not a big deal like over level to get banished because you'd have to fail a will save, and unless you roll a one these days, it's so like, if
Yeah.
you're over level, you
The
shouldn't be
part that
unless you
will
completely
probably
dumped
mess
your
you up.
rules. Go ahead.
The one that will probably mess you up the first time is phase two when you get to the Shadow Master with the Shadow Puppets. Those ice, they do ice damage.
Yeah,
Basically, all you need to do is don't move, stand in one place, because what happens is they have an aura, and when you walk in and out of the aura, it damages you. But if you stand in a place, when they walk up to you, you take damage, and that's it. So as long as you don't leave their aura, you'll be fine. That's basically it. And you can get, of course, absorption items and stuff, whatever those fire absorption, uh, either clicky or whatever. There's different ways to get past the cold damage if you're worried about it. But yeah, it's pretty doable. Tower of Despair is okay. Test your DPS and a whole bunch of other things, but it's fine. Then you got a heroic Lord of Blades, which again is doable, but you should have some range DPS for the pillars. And if you're doing it for the first time, don't go for 3 knockdowns. Just go for 1. Break the pillars as soon as you can, like right at the start, and then just go for the Lord of Blades. Go get the kill, finish the raid. Then if you're feeling like it was too easy, try to come back again and try to get all the optionals.
yeah.
But
It's another
for
all
the
these
first time,
raids. A lot of these raids, as long as there's no specific group forced mechanic, you should be able to do these kind of raids over level where you can power through the enemies. So that's another example of one. There's other than having range
yes,
DPS, there's not really any mechanics that require a group.
I'm just giving you from my experience of what things held me back when I tried to do it. I found out that I could do everything, but I needed A, B, or C, and I'm pointing out right now to save you the time. You don't have to find out for yourself, or you can.
Yeah, yeah,
Enjoy.
gotcha.
Okay, next one we have is Caught in the Web. Caught in
Hmm.
the Web is
I've
not
soloed
really
this one.
soloable on all characters because if you don't have a way to heal that's not connected to spell
Hmm.
points, you're not gonna be able to heal yourself.
It's very
You
soloable. You
know,
just have to make sure, yeah, because she will take all your spell points. So you have to have some way to heal yourself or do DPS. It's not reliant on the spell points. So it practically, you might struggle in terms of if you're a caster that relies on SP, you're going to struggle. But if you're a
if you're a pure
self-sufficient,
caster,
like
it's
melees do
misery.
better here because they don't rely on spell points for the DPS. Because even relying on, even if you have SLAs and can rely on echoes of power, it's not really practical. You have to have some way to do
No, you get
damage.
hit to minus all the time, so it's very
Yeah,
hard to cast.
yeah, yeah.
You really need to have some way to heal yourself that is not connected to spell points, or you're just gonna die. So
Right.
yeah, and also it'll probably take you more than an hour the first time you try it. It can be very long.
Yeah, but give it a shot.
Yeah,
Like that's a good challenge. Even on just on normal, if you're on cap, it shouldn't be. It
yeah,
shouldn't
it's
be
a
too
pretty fair
difficult. The
challenge as
hardest
long as you
part
know
is the
what you
portal
need.
keepers at the end. You have to bring all them down at the same time.
The
So gather
timing at
them
the
up
end
and
is
then bring
very
them down, and then get Anna through to the end there. That's really the only hard part of that raid. If you do it over level, obviously. If you're doing it, trying to do it at level and elite,
yeah.
yeah, it's
We're
gonna be
talking
rough.
about over
We're talking
level.
about doing these
Don't
things over
go to
level.
level.
Yeah, like way over level.
You're
So,
doing it for favor or maybe farming some gear. You're not trying to do this for for XP. This
hmm
not. Don't do that. The
okay.
next one, you have the Fall of the Truth we talked about already. It was
Yeah,
pretty
the
straightforward
only
as
thing with
long as
Fall
you've
of
got like
Truth,
electricity absorption and the
range
timing
damage.
of trying to kill. Yeah,
You need some at least a thrower or something to kill the thing in the sky, whatever it's called, the giant Holt device.
you
I
know,
forget.
I've done it with like a wimpy range thrower, and it took me like 5 minutes to
Yeah,
break the thing. It just took me a long time,
yeah. If you're on a
but
melee, just have
it
a
was okay.
thrower. Yep. Okay. What's next?
Next one is Fire and Thunder Peak, who, by the way, if you have any way to strip immunity for elemental damage, which now with the Chaos Mancer, you can have just erase the Chaos Mancer race and strip immunity. You just cut right through their shield and just kill them. So it's pretty straightforward. And without that, you'll have to have untyped damage. I did it just using Ruin and Greater Ruin. So there is ways to get past their immunity. They're not totally immune. I think they have like 1,000 PR, 1,000 MRR or something like that, because they take like 1 or 2 points of damage if you just keep on hitting them, and they're not immune to any kind of untyped damage. Or if you have something who strips immunity, they're also not immune to it. So
Hmm.
that's just a thing to keep in mind. Yeah. So if you got those things, it's really easy. If you got a slightly tanky build, because there is no other tank except for you. So slightly tanky build, you go into there and strip immunities. You just cut through all their hit points, and no problem. You'll kill them very
Is there
fast.
anything? Okay, so what is there any other? I guess we got a few left. A lot of the in-game ones are just not really doable. I mean, you can do them, but for like your average player, it's not really doable on your kind of normal
Yeah. Once we're getting
average
to the
build.
high level, these are like, so that was like
Obviously,
that's
if you're
already
a
level
super
3.
great player,
So
you can do some of these. But like for most people, it's gonna be you're not be able to solo like skeletons in the closet or
yeah.
something.
From now on, all these things are level 30 and above. And here's where it's like this: you once they increase the level cap, a lot of these will become easier. But
Hmm.
even these, some of these can be done. It's just like some of them are mechanically based, and some of them are basically character based. So if you don't have a proper character with enough past lives and stuff or max gear, you're not going to be able to do
Yeah,
it. It's just
you
going to
have to have
be
a really strong
different.
build to solo like 5 or more grave or skeletons or something like that on normal these days. But they will get
Yeah,
easier over time.
the last remaining challenge.
Something like
Yeah,
Morgrave, you should be able like Morgrave, and there's really no mechanics, I guess, other than the rocks everywhere that would prohibit you from soloing. Say when we get to maybe someday when we up to level 40, you'll be able to solo it just fine on normal. But these days,
yeah,
it's
it
you
should
got to
be
have a
fine.
really good build to be able to solo it like super strong. But yeah,
I
but
guess the last remaining one is Defiler of the Just. Did you ever solo that one?
have I sold Defile with Just? I think I have. Well, I'm not sure actually, but yeah, the it's a little tricky because you gotta make sure you catch all the archons because it will auto fail when the archons drop from the sky. For anyone who
Yep.
doesn't know, you have to make your way to defend the archons. If you don't, it, you will autofill. The raid will autofill. Also, you have to keep the trash down to a certain level, or the raid will autofill. So that's really what you run into. It's a little tricky, but if you can kill, you have to have some DPS. That's really the only thing. Got to have some DPS. But
It's a
in,
super DPS check, and you have to
being
get it
fast
down very
helps
fast.
too. Being fast helps a
Movement speed,
lot.
yep.
Yeah.
Also, that raid's bug that says in the description, if you get 15 scouts or whatever it is, you fail the raid. It's actually when you get 12. So it comes as a surprise the first time you're doing it. And you're like, oh, I'm good. I
Yeah.
only have 11. And then it goes to 12 and you fail. I'm like, what? Yeah. So I've soloed out one at least twice. It's a good DPS check for your character and coordination. You got to be on top of it. But it's pretty punishing because you can be there like 25 minutes inside and fail a thing after you start it. So it's if you want to push yourself, it's doable.
Yeah. So I think is that
Then
it
we start
for
going to the
is it
crazy ones. Yeah.
yeah, I think we just have the end game ones now, right? Like Morgrave and the Legendary's Chronoscope and stuff you can't.
Well, Temple of Deathworm is
Yeah,
not meant to be soloed,
you
and you need to
can
have a
solo
pet,
it,
and it's very
but it's
I did.
You have to
It's very
have,
hard.
yeah, you have to have, you have soloed that one. I've seen,
Yeah, I've done it once.
yeah.
I've done it once, and it's not fun. The one that is actually pretty doable is Mark of Death. If you're willing to get yourself a way to be immune to petrification, it's pretty straightforward. Mark of Death. You gotta have DPS for it because you don't want to stay there too long. Codex of the Shroud is also doable, but you have to have DPS. I'm working on my character right now to be able to
Hmm.
solo it. Voodoo just posted a video of him soloing. I was like, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
I tried. I didn't have enough DPS and I failed. I was like, okay,
We
I'll come
did,
back
yeah.
someday in the future.
Okay, I guess what else have we not mentioned? We haven't mentioned. We kind of talked about Strahd earlier. There in the other Ravenloft raid, Baba's hut. Baba's kind of rough because you have to
Bob
split
is
into
super
two.
rough.
Yeah, because you got to split into two parts. The party has to split into two. So if you do it solo, you have to do one side, then go back and do the other, and then you got the problem with if
And
you
it gets
take too much
longer and
time,
longer and longer and
the
longer.
bees show up and will
Yep.
kill you. So Baba's not real. I mean, you can do it, but for kind of an average normal player, it's not really that practical. Same with Strahd. It's really difficult because of the grip. I mean, the only way to really do it solo, right, is to do what you did to
Divine
solo it.
intervention.
Use Divine Intervention in Tier 5 War Priest.
I do
So
have some kind of
to get through the grip.
hypotheses about some other way to do it, but I'm not going to spoil it until I figure it out
Okay.
if I can confirm. But
Yeah.
I think there should be a way. If I'm right, there is a way to solo it that everybody can do. But I'm not going to say it and then get called out for making up assumptions
Gotcha.
before I
Well,
test it.
and
So
even Strahd, if you can get through the grip with something like Divine Intervention, you still have to be really fast to get through the card room and get to all the cards and pull the lever before it resets.
yes,
It's really
it's very
tough.
stressful.
Yeah. And then just to deal with the general things like probably want to be able to do trap. I guess you get through without doing the traps, but traps on the stairs, and then you've just got
Tell
a
you
lot of
what
trash
though,
that builds up.
it's very rare. Not a lot of people have done it.
Yeah,
I've seen way more people solo like end game raids than that one. That specific one, like only nobody does it.
and then you
So
probably want to be a 2 weapon fighting build for the end fight, so you can have the sun sword in one hand
you
and a
have to because
DPS
of
one.
Sun Sword.
Yeah, you have to hit it with a sun sword, so
I
you
mean,
got
you
to
can
be.
be a single weapon fighter also,
I guess you could just be like
but
a caster and just hit it and then cast a spell or something. But
you have to have a good hit though. If you don't hit Strahd, he doesn't take damage
yeah,
from it.
oh, that's a good
He
point.
won't
Grazing
skip his
hits won't
immunity.
work, does it? Yeah. So grazing hits won't debuff him. You're saying?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because
Well.
riding out the storm,
Oh yeah.
well, it's impossible to do.
That's the
If
one
you
I
can,
wanted to try recently. I've never tried it, but I
if
really
you
like
can get
that raid.
past the skeletons at the front, right at the start, there's a king skeleton who keeps it healing all the skeletons around it. If you can get him down fast enough, either with massive DPS or like some instant kill, like I don't know, turn undead or some other thing, you should be fine. If not, you ain't getting to pass. That's the gatekeeper of the raid.
Can you kill this
Everything else you'll be able to do.
with turn? Or are they have death ward?
No, you can turn them.
Really? Okay.
You just need to turn all the skeletons around them, and then you can just beat down the boss. But as long
Hmm.
as the two of them together, they keep on healing each other up. So that's like your challenge. I've never been able to get past it, and thinking of considering of making it turn undead. I don't know on my character, see if I can get past it. But yeah,
Okay.
you should try that one if you have a
But
clinic.
there's nothing in that one preventing you just getting the DPS to get through the skeletons. But other than that,
Nope.
you just go around, you do the puzzle. It's actually more like it's kind of like a more like a standard quest, honestly, than a raid in terms of its mechanics. There's really nothing that you need
Electric
the group
absorb. That's all
for.
you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the other ones? I mean, killing time is.
Killing time
I've
is
seen it
just
soloed, but
DPS.
it's super rough because you'll just fail.
Very tight.
You have to be super fast to get to the dragon and do all the required things before the whatever it's called builds up to autofill the raid. So that one's kind of not doable. What else we got? We got some
Too hot to handle.
two out to
Too hot
handle
to
is
handle
like
is
yeah, good luck.
now that they removed the divine and the whatever it's called, the um, the auto heal you would get from epic destinies, it becomes much harder to heal yourself. So now
The
you have to
exalted
spend
angel
tons of hits.
passive heal.
The exalted, yeah. So now you
Yeah.
have to spend tons and tons of whatever. You have to keep on healing yourself all the time. It just becomes even more stressful. And yes, the boss has so much hit points. It's like, and if you don't do it fast enough, you get overwhelmed and die. So it's like one of those
Yeah,
quests.
because you got
So
to do the puzzles when you talk about healing yourself. Really, just during the puzzle portion, because the dot goes away after the puzzle portion. But yeah, during the puzzle portion, you'd have to have some good fire absorb and self healing. But anyways, it's not really. I mean, that one. Same with like Project Nemesis. It's just they're so group
I think
focused.
it's just his coordination. Yeah, it's
It's
coordination
so group
because
focused that it's
if you miss
like
one of the corners, they'll fail the raid. If you're trying to set up the boss, you need to put underneath the laser and pull the laser at the same time. It's
it's
just so
not.
fiddly.
It's not.
So
It's. I'm sure it's been done, but it's not. It's
has
not
been done. You
practical.
need to have a ranged DPS character
Yeah.
because if not, you can't be in melee and get to the switch at the same time.
Okay. So what else we got? Is there any other raids we haven't mentioned?
Legendary VOD just needs like a very tanky
Yeah, we
character
talked about
and lots of
VOD.
DPS.
Yeah,
Legendary Master Artificial and Legendary Lord of
we
Blades are
talked
both.
about them.
You have to have like it. Yep. Dryad and Demigod.
Yeah, the
Dryad and
Feywild we haven't.
Demigod.
Feywild ones we haven't talked about yet. Dryad. Probably not
Dryad
do.
is
You have
doable. You have to kill the unicorns though.
killed
That's the trick to it. You have to
killed
kill the
what?
unicorns and then run, and then you'll have enough time before they respawn in to kill or bluff. The lots of time you'll have to kill the guardians, do the puzzle before get whatever it is before Hawthorne, whatever her
Yeah,
name, gets
her
corrupted.
corruption. It's kind,
And
possible
if
if
you're
you're
soloing
super
it, don't do
good,
the
but
optionals.
not really practical. Same with probably Hunter. What about Hunter and Hunted?
You
You
have
how
to
do
have
you
enough
hover the souls?
MRR.
I guess
You don't.
you
You have to
don't.
suck up the sonic damage. You have to have enough MRR and healing to just survive it. You
Yeah,
have to have sonic absorption crafted onto your items, sonic resistance crafted onto your items. Then you have to have tons of MRR and healing, and basically you just take it. You have to have enough hit points. You get hit for like 1,500 sonic. Right away heal it. And
yeah.
in the second round you'll be hit twice, once and then right again. So you have to heal and heal again very fast if you want to survive it.
Yeah, so not practical really. Is there any other? Is that it?
It has been done.
Yeah, it has been done.
Legendary
I'm sure.
Chronoscope, Skeleton in the Closet, and
Yeah,
Fire from Wargrave.
we
Skeleton
talked about all of
is
those
also
already. Yeah,
Skeleton is just tons of DPS because it just takes forever.
yeah,
And you always have to be tanky to deal with with Barney.
yeah. Barney. Yeah. So I think so. We got through all the raids. I mean, is there anything you want to mention as far as like regular quests? So I think you mentioned before we started raids, you wanted to say a few things about like quests not to do or
I've done all the quests, and I've made sure to make solo quest guides for every single unsolvable quest. So if you got any quests like this quest is like not solvable, I made a quest guide for it.
yeah. Anyone doesn't know
Um,
Albar, and I'll link his channel below in the description. He's got solo guide. How many do you have? I was going to ask you about that because he's done solo guides on tons of quests in the game. I know at one point you were trying to do every single quest. How many? Do you know how many quest guides you're up to at this point?
I don't know how many quest guides, but my channel has just about 400 videos, so
Okay.
probably at least half of those are quest guides.
So he has individual videos. So if you need to, so go to Albar's channel if you're looking for how to solo a specific quest. He probably has a guide for it.
You take all the Necropolis quests that require to have a balanced party. We need two
Hmm.
or four players, Shadow Crypt and all those kind.
Yeah,
And
those
no,
are rough. What Necro?
Tomb of the Shadow Lord. We need to have two players to pull two switches at the same time. So I have guides for all of those kind of quests. Or Tomb of the Burning Heart. We have to have there's four pressure plates, and you have to have four players. I don't know, Zorian Cipher. We have to have four players. So all of those I've done quest guides for all of them. Solo walkthrough and guide plus quest name, and you'll find it.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to mention as far as quests? I think because I mean we've been going for a while. We talked about we kind of already went over like we went over them earlier when we talked about like leveling paths and things. Well, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to mention? Like the only other thing I had written down was like common beginner mistakes, but we've really already talked about that earlier. So is there anything else you want to mention
Yeah, we've
about
covered.
soloing that we haven't covered?
Well, nothing's. I just reinforce what I said before that you don't really know a quest until you solo it. So you owe it to yourself. If you want to know DDO, you should solo everything at least once, because you think you know it when you do it in a group, and then the first time you go down some hallway or pull some switch by yourself, I guarantee you'll find out things you didn't know about the game before. I was like, what? I didn't know this thing was here. I was like, yep. Well, surprise.
If anyone in Twitch chat, by the way, has questions or anything you want us to talk about regarding soloing, this is the time. Post it. We'll talk about it because I think we're about ready to wrap up here. Unless there's other things you wanted to go into, Aldbar.
Yeah, I guess questions. I guess from chat.
Yeah. I guess we could talk. The only other thing I thought of is there anything you want to talk about as far as like, and this is kind of getting away from our topic, but like, are you excited about Myth Draenor? Are you excited about this new stuff
I don't
happening in
have
the game?
any. I don't have anything to say about Mithranor because I haven't played like the classic expansion like in D&D, so I don't know anything about it. So I'm I'm just we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
That's it. That's basically what I have to say about the content.
yeah.
What I'll do say though is I have one character who's soloed so far by himself past 7,400 favor, all solo on one character. And once Myth Draenor comes out, I'll be able to get a 7,500 favor
Mm-hmm.
with one single
Oh,
character. So,
that's
so I'm looking. So I'll be able to say that it's technically possible.
to
It's
what
not really,
solo
but
and get
yeah,
what the 7,500 favor.
yeah, all by
Okay.
yourself.
If anyone doesn't know,
So if
7,500
just
favor
in case
gets
anybody
you.
starts crying and said that you can't do it, I'll say, yeah, you can do it. I have a playlist with all the videos.
Yeah, so 7,500
All the
favor
links.
gets you a +8 tome of your choice, and I think
Yep.
5,000 gets you a plus. Is it 5 of your choice? I think.
Yeah, plus five. Yeah.
So yeah, it's good things to go after. Well, I don't see anyone asking questions in Twitch chat. So is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up? And you want to go ahead and plug your stuff so people know where to find you?
Yeah. So again, Albar or Alba DDO and my channel, Albar DDO, has a lot of solo walkthrough guides for all the like essential quests. So any quest you find complicated, you need a guide, you need a way to figure out how to do certain things, mechanics, secrets, optionals. I try to break down everything and show everything in the quest. And yeah, most of those are kind of evergreen because they haven't changed. So I go every once in a while and check back my own videos like, oh, this is how you do this thing. So it's very useful. I also have a few build guides and I do a lot of let's plays where I try to push myself and do interesting things and I do a lot of raid soloing and other things like that. Every once in a while I do reviews for certain things like expansion packs and compare content and prices and stuff like that. But yeah, if you just want DDO content, I've got a channel for you.
Yeah, I'll
And
link your
occasionally I stream.
yeah, I'll link your YouTube below, and also occasionally you stream on Twitch. I know, so I'll link your
Yeah,
Twitch
I
below.
you can see based on my camera how much I've invested in streaming, but
Yeah,
yeah, I do want to
yeah,
work on it.
yeah. Okay, all right, guys. Well, everyone, thanks for showing up, and thanks Albar for coming. That's gonna be it for the podcast. See y'all next time.